Yeah, doesn't Restream only allow 10 people?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So I think we're back. Can anybody check to see if we're live? This
No,
is
you're
fun.
not.
Zoom calls up, but
YouTube ended the stream.
And Twitch is back up.
Yep. Here be Twitch.
And
very clear.
YouTube's a new,
It's going to be a new stream on YouTube because I'd have to
Yeah.
recreate an event.
yeah,
So if you're watching on YouTube right now, you got to go to the new stream.
they're not going to hear you.
There's a catch-22.
That's the irony of it all. Irony can be pretty ironic sometimes.
I'm now going to
And
blame my
you should-
bandwidth problems on Stevie.
Mhm.
Ken, you should have said that before.
All right. So
I didn't know before.
So Mark B, you are streaming us, yes?
Yep, it's coming through smooth on Twitch right
Okay.
now.
So the last panel member I was starting to introduce, and I forgot to mention he is also kind of a roving reporter, foreign correspondent. But Sloopy Malibu is also with us, who recently brought us live coverage from Tandy Assembly. Welcome, Sloopy.
Greetings. And I also did VCF East before that. When are you going to send me to the UK for the Dragon meetup?
As soon as you get your passport and airfare squared away on your own dime, then we're happy to send you there.
Just send me instead. I'll do it.
Honestly, I would love to go out there sometimes myself. We've got a David Ladd sighting in the house. Hello, David.
Why, hello, everyone.
Yeah, David makes the headphones go boom. Okay. Alan Murphy, Exile in Paradise is here. Hello, Alan.
Howdy, howdy.
And then James Diffendaffer is with us as well, with the sporty circuit board there for his profile picture. All right. And what is our first segment of the day? This guy used to be on quite a bit. He's now decided to grace us with his presence again. But he was one of these people who we'd say has a problem when it comes to collecting, because he's got way too much crap. And this is why we can't get Coco 3s and Coco 2s and Coco 1s or CCRs or multi-packs or ROM packs or Black Beauties or Deluxe Joysticks or anything anymore, because he has basically cornered the market on Coco collecting. But he's a nice guy. Brian Weezer, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
It's good to have you back in the fold, in the mix with us all here. I heard you on last week or so with teasing a few things, a 6-slot MPI and cool stuff like that. Did you ever get a chance to turn that one on?
I did start to play with it a little bit there and hadn't done a whole lot with it, but if I get everything squared away, yeah, I'd like to come back on and I'll show it in action.
Cool. So are you going to regale us with some cool things and make us all jealous on what you got this week?
Sure. Yeah, I got a few boxes here. We can do a little unboxing here if we want to. So let me do this real quick here. Do the old camera switch. Boom. Got a box. Let's see what's in the box.
What's in the box?
What's in the box?
In the box, Brian?
Let's see here.
And behind door number 1,
We have, what do we have here?
I see bubble wrap. I do like bubble wrap. I'm a fan.
I see
bubble wrap.
cables.
And we have here a CoCoMax.
CoCoMax.
And what I kind of liked about this one is it also had had this ribbon cable, which I always like these Y cables. So that kind of intrigued me. So it's this side up. So
You mean you don't want to short out anything?
no. And then it also came with this
First gen mouse.
Oh,
Yep.
the Black Beauty mouse.
with the nice 2-pound steel ball on the bottom of it there. So yes.
Rat.
No, rat's a separate thing. That was one that Dave Dyes. It was a dual button serial mouse or something, I think.
Yes. So yeah, so I picked that up off of eBay there. Like that CoCoMax and
The CoCoMax is kind of like a high-res joystick interface, right?
yes.
Yeah, it does
Yep.
the 256 by 192 mouse coordinates and hardware.
I always like them too because they always have they're all serial numbered as well. So yeah.
And doesn't Coco Man Jason have a Joey high-res adapter that has compatibility with that, I think?
Yes. Yep.
Shameful plug.
And then I believe the guy's name is it Mike Rayburn? He did some products. This will look a little familiar to some of you here. Well, at least let me do this one here. Got another box. Trying to avoid
We need
addresses.
box opening music for the listening people listening to the podcast later on. For those of you listening, at
Yes,
home
and,
right now,
and for
Brian
those of you that
Weasley.
are OSHA conscious, you're probably liking me using the scissors as a utility knife. There, so some of you have probably seen this already, advertised and talked about, but I wanted to get one. This is the Coco PS2. So it allows you to use either a 15-pin game joystick or your PS2 mouse, and then take it to
Al puts that to a DIN connector on the Coco.
Yep.
And who makes this?
What's the guy's
Is
name?
that
It's,
Mike
it's
too?
Mike. Yeah, Mike Rayburn. I think is who does this.
Yeah, he
Okay.
was selling this at Coco Fest, wasn't he?
I believe so.
Nice 3D printed case.
Yeah, nice 3B. Is it gonna be there? It is. So you can get the it comes with a case, and then you can flip between mouse and the joystick there.
So I
Haven't-
wonder if you plugged in like a digital stick, would it automatically work like the Atari style adapters? Because I'm sure it's sending out the variable resistance on the pots through the DIN connector. So it'd probably read it like a digital joystick adapter would if you plugged in a digital joystick to that 15-pin connection, like a 4 or 8 direction joystick.
Yeah, I had a chance to try it. I only have one joystick that has that kind of port.
Yeah, I actually had back in the days of those for the PC. I had one that was like a Sega Genesis, kind of with the left thumbed D-pad that had like 8 directions and stuff. That would be kind of cool to try on that adapter.
And he sends everything that you need here. You get the cord to go
The
from
DIN
from the
connection,
button.
okay,
Yep, to go-
double-headed DIN
Yep, and then this
power.
is the power
The little
and the
wall
power
wart
cord.
for your
Yep.
USB, mini USB powered.
And then for those of you that are able to read-
Documentation. This is
Yep.
a well put together and packaged and shipped product. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah.
Very professional.
Documentation.
Yeah, documentation.
What's that?
It's kind of like bandwidth. Who needs it, right?
I was gonna say, that's documentation. That's better than my PS2 one.
Right?
Don't talk to me about
I
bandwidth.
better not tempt the bandwidth gods by teasing them again. They might strike us all down.
Then I got another box here. This was something that
stinking bandwidth. Lots of boxes here.
lots of boxes.
Where's
Lots
Paul
of-
Schaefer in the boxing unopening band when you need them for this little background?
I could grab my guitar.
Yeah, play a little unboxing riff there for us, Curtis.
So I did share one of these the other day, but this one here is just the J&M.
J&M, just the J&M, just
Yeah,
the facts, man.
The one that I had the other day had the switch because it had the extra
Double
ROM
ROM
socket.
socket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could switch.
Yeah, and this one here is just it has the ROM is socketed, so a person could pop the lid on this and you
And
can
this doesn't
slide
have the
in and out.
parallel port on the side either, right? Yeah.
No, this is just the interface.
I wonder if that's the revision that needs the mod done to work on the Coco 3.
The 12-volt thing.
How would you know that?
I saw something when I was, well, of course, going through floppy controllers that the first J&M had issues with the Coco 3 for some reason. I don't know what it was.
12-volt, maybe?
Yeah, 12-volt would be my guess if it was designed for the original Coco 1. The only other thing is if it had a huge honking. Well, actually, no, the Coco 1 and 2 didn't support a ROM up to 32K. Never mind. Probably 12-volt. No. Unless you had a multi-pack.
Right.
Anyways, it's beautiful.
Yeah, they were solid. They were metal cases, not plastic, so they were quite nice. I actually had one with the parallel port, which they also sold the driver. You could make it into a hard drive controller through the parallel port.
Yeah, this is a much bigger box.
That's what
I
she
will-
said.
I will.
Yeah, it's got Starbucks coffee.
I will set this back down on the floor and I will pull
we
the things
should
out.
never
now.
we should never judge a product by the size of its box. It's the contents within that count. So
Right.
Yeah, I wonder how many heads could be fit in that one.
there we go.
So-
We got Curtis Boyle on the unboxing music for us.
There we go. So last week I had shown the peripherals technology multi-pack interface that Ricardo Sete he had shown on Facebook. Well, this box is not coming apart as quickly. Sorry, guys. There we
Okay,
go.
we got Curtis here to entertain us. Play some
So-
Skinner, man.
This is
So
compelling.
he had sent me that plus a few other things, which I'll show here in a moment. But he also sent me some other items this past week or the week before. And it's a whole box of goodies here. So I was this was he had seen this, I think, on the Facebook marketplace, if I recall. And he's primarily a Commodore guy, but he saw this stuff and it wasn't being so no one was buying it. And he didn't want to see this stuff go into the trash because he, wants to retain this stuff like a lot of us do. So a lot of these things are things that you guys have probably seen before, but he wanted to share it with me, and him and I kind of worked out a trade on some stuff. So
Right now, all we see is genuine imitation wood grain. So
There we are.
when are we going to see some actual products? Oh, there we go. The
So we have
Tandy
the,
TRS-80 color computer technical reference manual.
reference manual.
I've got a few of those. I like that.
Yep. So yeah, I don't know all what's in the box here, but we'll see here. So we got a
I see you have the color changing version.
although okay, yes. Got the CCR 81 cassette recorder is in there. What else we got here? We have, whoops, get them all together here. We have not one, not two, not three, but four
Black
Beauty
Beauty.
Juice 6.
Now,
But
how
two
much would you
aluminum and two
pay?
plastic.
How much would you? But wait, there's more.
Looks like two of them have the plastic
The metal,
joysticks.
the metal ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the
And
metal
it's
ones
a-
are the first gen ones that you can actually unscrew the top and do the sawed-off shotgun joystick.
What are the names on them?
Well, and,
Radio Shack. They all say Radio Shack, right?
Bob and
Yes.
Doug.
So this one here has the one that's just the slim cylinder. This is the one that is the tapered one where it kind of gets a little fat in the middle there. And it also has the gray cord.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
which kind of
So
cool.
many different variations on those joystick runs, huh?
Yes. There was like I think these were the three different versions that were available.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, a whole box of stuff here. I hadn't seen what was all in here. So some of
We
this
do
is,
have a question about the difference between the CCR 81 and the 82. And it wasn't just the difference
number.
between one and two, right?
Wasn't
Yeah,
the
I guess
81 the
I-
little one. It was like
Was it like a size reduction one on the 82 or?
Yeah, the 82 was quite a bit shorter, wasn't
it might have
one's
been
gray.
that might have been the shorter
80.
one, yeah. And there was
One's
there was a
gray,
whole
one's
series.
white.
and it died
That's
about
just
halfway up
color.
the speaker on that one. It was really small. Yeah.
One's gray as one's white as one was Rondova was saying. I've
Yeah.
heard that it's one smaller than the other
I have one of each.
because when the Coco was still a TRS-80 and things were silver, a lot of stuff was still, matter of fact, some of the early Color Computer 1 accessories were just hand-me-downs from the TRS-80 Model 1, right? So the modems and the cassette players and printers, those were all just, oh yeah, we already have these products and let's just make the same DIN connector and poof.
Well,
But
the
not-
81 also came in beige. You could
But
get it
not-
in silver or beige.
Oh, okay.
But not
This-
joysticks.
I have the CCR
Not
81 here.
joysticks though, yeah. Oh, yeah, look at that, a nice blue box. What about mauve? Could I have gotten it in mauve or taupe?
But it is, this one is beige, so it was the Color Computer 2 version.
Ah,
it?
okay.
And nobody on the stream saw that, Ken. So
Oh,
That's okay,
Well-
yeah, because we're looking at Brian's empty table right now, because that makes for great video.
it was just the box. I actually,
It's
the,
like
uh,
listening to silence on a podcast or watching a blank screen on a video,
Right.
both equally mesmerizing.
Show us the
Uh,
damn thing.
Is
will
that
ya?
real wood or is that imitation wood?
Right, at this
Right.
point, I'm dying for somebody just to start beating away on their keyboard, just for something.
So also in the
Somebody
box
shoot me
here-
now.
The cassettes are in here, but these are all the manuals for some different games that are in here. So we have Phantom Slayer,
I have that exact.
Yeah, who
one
are you
myself.
pointing that to? Because okay, there you go. There you go. There you go. Phantom Slayer. I've never seen the manual for that. That's a cool picture.
Yeah,
And
I
then
have
we
that
have-
exact one here. My original I bought in '82.
Spectral Associates, Space Invaders. Spectral Associates, Metro. Is it
Meteoroids.
Meteors? There you are.
Meteoroids.
Meteoroids.
So the Spectral Associates ones are actually full color. That's not
Rare in
quite
the
on
Coco
par.
community at
It's not
times.
quite on par, but similar to what the Dragon does. You know.
Yeah,
The Dragon still
Spectral
does it
and
better.
Mictron / Computer Shack were the two that seemed to do a fair bit of the color manuals
Okay.
back then.
Like
And
the
Mark
color
Dad did some.
logo, the color logo there, the pseudo 3D look to it. Yeah. Good
And
effort.
Defense.
Defense. The best
Not sure.
offense is a good defense. There we go. Defense.
Was it
I got that one too.
Remmel? Is it
3D.
pronounced Remmel 3D?
That's a Mictron Computer Shack one.
Okay,
Okay.
full color. with-
Mishtron.
Here's another part of the manual there. Kind of sorting
Mish-
through this here.
Mishtron, not Mictron.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Michigan, I guess. Yeah, technically.
Mitch.
Right, Mishtron.
I always called it Mictron. Don't
Mictron?
ask me why.
Here's Mictron Speed Racer.
Now, does that one come with all the codes you had to type in the game? Like, is it a thick one?
Boy, I don't know. This I'm looking.
Oh
at
no,
this
that's
for
just the manual. Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's good artwork, but it's black and white. And that would be so much better if it was in color, you know?
Yeah,
Because
I
Speed
agree.
Racer is a premier game.
Color printing
More
back
money.
then though was hugely more expensive than black and white, so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
understandable.
And
Tom
half the
Mix,
colors hadn't even been discovered or invented yet that long ago.
Right. Well,
What is that? I can't read that.
yeah, this is it's probably hard to read here. It's a P-51 Mustang flight simulator.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a
oh,
generic binder with just a little label stuck on it with the name of the game, huh?
oh, this is interesting. So here's another piece to that to the manual that I showed last week there for the basic technology, or from peripheral technology. But this is basic though. But it has I think this is what we refer to as the PT 1000, where you can see here it doesn't have the buttons or the lights that I showed last week on the ones that the one that I had. So that's interesting.
Oh, you know what my problem has been? I've been watching this on YouTube and it's like 3 seconds behind you. So I'm like yelling at you, like, dude, when are you going to put this down? The picture's not matching your words. And I'm like, damn, I'm a tard. What can I tell you?
Hey, Grandpa.
This
Yeah.
looks like a
You
Okay,
kidding
Platinum
me?
Software work saver. It has this keyboard.
Yeah, isn't that the
layout.
one that was kind of like the MC10 keyboard where you could like hit a certain key combined with another key and you'd get like a keyword from basic like go to or something like that?
Yeah, it has all these different commands here. Input, then.
Can you
read,
bring
timer.
it close to the? There you go.
I don't know if that-
3D. Zoom it in and out. Come on.
Oh,
There you go. Yeah, it is. It is like the MC10.
Focus,
Yep.
focus.
Focus.
But that's
Um,
for the chiclet board, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes. Color. Oh, I'm not very good at this pronunciation. of some
That's
of the stuff,
Dennis
guys.
Bathory Kitz's 4-voice music synthesizer program.
Green
In
Mountain
software.
Micro. Yes.
Quaver.
Whatever,
Yeah.
Okay.
Dennis
Oh,
Kitz, of course,
great.
is in charge of the Coco list.
Coco
Mailing group.
list.
Here's Coco Copy.
Who's that by? Oh, the data man?
Peter something or another.
Peter-
It's kind of blurry.
Peter Kowalski. Karwowski.
Karwowski.
I don't remember that. I
under
remember the data
license
man. I
to
remember
the
their ads
Data
on Rainbow. I
Man.
don't remember that particular program.
Who can make a software? The data man can.
Here's
Speak up. I can't hear you.
I have that one myself too.
Speak up. Text to speech.
That's a software speech synthesizer at 16K and 32K versions.
Oh, I remember doing that, making my programs talk and stuff like that. It was like, it sounded almost like Fury, my computer shack.
Yeah,
That really,
yeah, it was really low fidelity,
Yeah.
but to fit in 16K, you kind of had to just.
yeah, that was cool though. You can make it
Um,
laugh and all kinds of stuff.
Big Num from 1982 Quasar Animations. Big Num.
Yeah, that was utility. The Quasar's more famous for doing stuff like Guardian, the game, and stuff like that. But Big Num was a thing for doing really huge numerical calculations, like with 60 points of floating point accuracy or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Here's a Screen 64. Just a
That's a high res screen thing for doing like 30 or true lowercase on a Coco 1 or 2 that doesn't have a lowercase chip. Plus, you'll do like 42 column, 51 column, 85 column type thing, and give you some color controls and smooth scrolling and a bunch of things.
Packet Man.
Wow.
That's
that
a
is
really early Greg Zumwalt Pac-Man type game from
Total
American
line
Small Business
printer.
Computers.
total line.
What did they write on there?
Grand
David
Grand-
Lord says big num sounds like an affliction.
What's that
this
one?
year's Grand Slam Bridge.
Oh yeah. Listen,
I have not played that one.
I like a Grand Slam breakfast, but I guess Grand Slam bridge is the next best thing, right?
I'm not sure what this is. This is a
It's a line printer listing.
A
or
Yeah, it's a
listing
something.
or
printer.
something, or-
it's some sort of it's a basic program, so I'm not sure what that.
It almost looks like assembler because I see all the kind of address lines on the left-hand side. It might be assembly source code.
It's in basic here.
Oh,
It's
it's in
the
basic?
first. Yeah, the first line is REM game of single player golf.
Oh, okay. I just,
Um,
I guess because it's got the formatting of printing
Spacing.
out a screen. I'm not using basic formatted. That's all. Okay.
Here's another sheet for Packet Man
Packet Man.
and Tom Mix Software.
Ooh, a
Worlds of
binder.
Worlds
Yeah,
of Flight.
that had a full binder.
Nice.
Ooh.
Now we're getting into tangible.
That's a different binder than I have, though. Mine's actually
That's
got
that's
a
a
picture on the
vinyl
cover.
binder. Nice. That's like getting closer to Tandy standards here. Radio Shack stuff.
Give me 1 second here. Whoops. Wow. Cassette Palooza here. So this must be the software for Platinum Works Worksaver. So these are all the cassettes for the things I just showed you then. So here's the Platinum software. Here's the color Quavar. The Data Man.
The Data
Or-
Man.
Oh, this is the Coco copy.
The data man can.
The Data
There's-
Man can.
there's the-
Rommel 3D.
Almo 3D.
Yeah, I have that one myself too.
Here's the
Comics.
P51.
P51
Recognize
by
the logo.
Comic Software. Nice label there at least.
Illustrated memory banks. Advanced. I'm not sure what that's all about. World of Flight. Here's the Speed Racer. Oops, the cassette's coming up.
This is like the average day of a Dragon user's life, but this is like uncommon for Coco to be going through this many cassettes, you know.
There's a Packet Man. Here's Bedlam.
Bedlam. Oh, I love Bedlam.
Duplic-
Plug.
oh, this just says duplicate on it.
I'm
so not
calling
sure if
I'm calling Plug on this segment here at this point. Sorry.
It's a duplicate.
Pluggy.
This is
Is there anything you did not buy?
yeah, maybe that would be shorter. Let's go over the list. Of things I
Yeah,
did.
show us the two things you passed on.
Brian's wanted list.
Is
Here's
there
Brett.
anything left on I still don't have?
So here's the Grand Slam Bridge. Here's the Phantom Slayer.
Brian, I don't want to overcomplicate this, but I'm going to ask you the question real quick. But on the camera we're looking at now, do you have the ability to turn off autofocus and do a manual focus? Because I find it's kind of blurring in and out. And if you-
Yeah,
if
I've
you could
struggled
kind
with
of
that. I've
hard focus it on what's on the table, and because it's getting really kind of
Every time
myopic.
your hand goes through, it tries to focus on your hand.
Yeah.
And
sure. Let
And
me
if it's
see
going to
here.
take more than 13 seconds to do, then just keep going and we'll deal with it. But I figured for future reference, if
No, that's one of the things I wanted to do is make a little investment in. You'd think all this Coco stuff I could afford a camera, but
because I'm the Packet Man.
you spend it all on Coco stuff.
Packet Man running around the
No
maze
no
and
money left for
eating
a
dogs.
camera or food, but he's got
There's-
lots of Coco stuff.
Well, he's
Here's
got a
a-
nice
It
watch
has
on too.
no budget.
yeah, here's the Color Cosmic. Here's Defense and the Color Metroids,
Color and Metroids.
and then of course everybody's favorite and must have.
Personal finance. No, Color scripts it.
Second only to Color Scripts it. I was just
Color
about to say that.
There you go.
Oh, all he
And
needs is that math one.
Backgammon.
Math tutor.
Oh, here we
All he
go.
needs is the math one, and we have the trifecta. Yeah.
What is
Super
that
Lo-
one there?
That's one of the
circus is-
logos, isn't it?
This is Super
Super logo.
Okay, nearing the bottom of the box here, we have a manual.
There you go.
Now,
Color-
is that the
bottom of that
original
box?
thin one or is that the full thick one?
How many
This is a-
chapters? If it's
That's
got
full
more,
thick
the
one.
thick one.
Yeah, because originally
Look in the
Tandy didn't have
table
it
of
fully ready,
contents.
and only they published the first 14 chapters for
is
about
there
the
a
first
table
year.
of contents and see if it's got more than like 13 chapters in it?
Yeah, it'll have the part 4 semi-language stuff and a few other things if it's the full one, and it skipped those on the early releases because they weren't ready.
Chapter 24.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a full one.
Probably more. That's the completed edition. I think I have one copy of the shortchanged printing of that.
Then a couple let's see here.
Rainbows.
Do a little
You
rearranging
gotta,
here.
move, you gotta move that small stack of tapes out of the way at this point now. The camera can only hold so much content. Rainbow. Ooh, is that like Vanna White there turning the?
You're,
Can
can your desk hold all the weight of this stuff?
yeah, right.
Radio Shack Zone
you're not on
magazine.
the second story by any chance, are you, Brian?
Let's see here. Here's computer user. don't know if
I
you've ever seen that
see a
one.
basic computer games TRS-80 edition.
You do see that, don't you? Oh, here's the. Oh, this is nice. This is a nice thick
Super
manual here
logo
for-
manual. Yeah, nice and thick.
They actually list all the commands and some examples, huh?
I'm trying to remember. Is Super Logo the one that Dale Lear worked on, or is that?
I
the
think
one
that was DL logo, and that was on.
Oh, right.
OS9.
Yeah. There's so many logos for the Coco. There's at least three
Yeah.
that Radio Shack
I don't
themselves sold.
know who did Super. I never messed with logo back in the day.
Yeah, it was Larry Chiardi or something. I can't
Zabinski.
remember his last
Michael
name. something
P.
like that.
Zabinski, introducing the TRS-80 level 2 basic and computer programming.
Yeah, this would have been for like your Model 1.
Yeah,
And then the other one for the Model 1. And then
TRS-80 edition.
And here's the color computer secrets revealed.
Ooh, shh, it's a secret.
just between all of us, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
give
if
me
you
one
put a
sec.
piece of Scotch tape over pin 40 while you're in the store, you can download the cartridges. with tape.
Are there any juicy photos in there?
Don't tell anybody. It's a secret.
Okay, so that was that part of it, and then sorry to keep going on here, guys, but he was very generous.
Now,
and,
part
so-
two.
Part
Part
two.
two. So here's this is PTFX instructions. I'm not sure what PTFX 16K was. Makes it possible for you to send graphics characters and graphics print to such printers as the Line Printer 7.
Yeah, they had a couple screen dump utilities, basically, I think is what it mostly was. But like I had the CGP 220 one, the color one, but this was for some of the older black and white printers to do screen dumps, I think.
And then int basic or INT basic.
Integer basic.
Integer.
Okay.
Integer basic, huh?
Okay. Screen 64.
There you go.
Printing 64 columns on the screen. You can download my code to do that. No.
Intelligence. Teletronics. Screen
Teletronics, the
64.
guys that did Starfire and Donkey Monkey.
Yeah.
And then here's key.
His probably does more than
Is it
mine.
key 264K?
Yeah, we've talked about that on the show before. That's where you could run two programs at once.
Okay. So that was also part of the goodies that was in there.
Wow.
And then this is always nice. The Super Color Writer 2.
The cartridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's eventually it got renamed to VIP Writer. It's part of the VIP library. This is the original word processor that Nelson Software Systems, before they changed the name to SoftLaw, published.
Oh,
What I
hey,
thought was
Mark,
kind of what I
looks
thought was
like it-
interesting about these cartridges is that it's not a cartridge, it's actually a cassette case that they use
Yeah.
as a cartridge. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Hello.
That's cool. I haven't seen that before.
Boxes were hard to come by.
They were expensive.
Yeah.
Injection molding is not cheap.
You think they glued it on the inside or is there a screw?
I'm not sure because it's all taped. It's all taped up.
Yeah, and you want to wreck that because that's a rare one. I've seen the disc and cassette versions of Super Color Writer, but not the cartridge.
I did not know VIP was originally Super Color Writer.
Dan Nelson,
So-
I think, is the one who wrote it.
Yep.
So the last set of things here I'd like to show you. This was something I was very excited about because I've seen it, but I've never been able to get my hands on one. And it was part of that lot that he had. And the A bus.
Oh, right.
Oh,
not sure.
yeah.
Not
He used
how
to have
you're
full
familiar
page
with
ads
that.
with all the different peripheral cards you can put in that sucker, and it was
Yep.
cross-platform.
And yes, it was cross-platform, yeah, because it talks about like the Atari, the Commodore, the color computer, all had an interface that then would go into onto a card, so you could connect up different peripherals. This here's what it's showing here is that I think they called this the mother interface or the something mother board, and that's where you could plug in the different cards, or you can plug in just a card into it. And so this is what the one for the color computer looked like. This ROM cartridge, and then it had a ribbon cable that you then could plug into the card.
That cassette case. That's
Yep.
what it looks like.
So here's
Oh,
this is the card
That's a real
itself.
deal.
Yep. And it has this I'm not sure if it's a 50 pin header on it right here, which then used this ribbon cable.
Oh, that ribbon cable looks brand new in the bag.
Yeah, I don't think this stuff was ever used.
Does it still have that new cable smell?
Yes, it does.
Oh.
So this end here goes into the cartridge, and then
The
these
other
two
end would
here,
go into the bus.
I want my money back. I can't smell it.
and then it had the two edge card connectors for the different cards that might that you might have, and it had all sorts of different cards that were available, different input output cards. The one that I was really intrigued by was this one here, and it came with a dual stepper motor card.
Wow.
And so here's the card itself.
You actually have some of these A-bus cards.
Yep. So here's the dual stepper motor card. And
Is that ribbon cable got A-bus slots on it? So it's kind of like a multi-pack ribbon cable?
essentially, yeah. So this edge here,
So that's an A-bus slot. Okay, so that goes into the ribbon cable and then that goes into the cartridge that goes into the CoCo.
Yeah, and you
Correct.
could run that
Yep.
kind of like the Y cable setup he's got there, or you could get that mother backplane thing where you could
Okay,
put
so
in
that
like
mother
a dozen
backplane
cartridges.
thing just kind of turned the ribbon cable into a rigid cage for
A lot of
housing
The
cards.
mother of all universal
Yeah, it's-
buses.
yeah,
This is
essentially
David Ladd's wet dream of a multi-pack, basically.
Oh, yeah.
David, stop, David.
Stop.
so all of these cards are addressable. So
I was
the-
gonna
from
say,
what-
how
from-
do you know that? Yeah.
Yeah, so from what I understand, reading through the manual a little bit there, each one has its own unique address. And so you would peek and poke it to either read or send information to the card from the way
Almost
I
kind of like
understand.
IRQ lines or like SCSI IDs or something like that, right?
Yeah, because I mean, essentially this cable is just
It's just
strictly-
one pass through. It's a series circuit essentially, yeah.
Yep, exactly. So it had the dual stepper motor card along with, and it came with
Dual stepper.
two separate
The extra
two-
stepper motors.
Wow.
And
Two
you
stepper
stepper
motors.
motors. Stepper motors. Yeah.
Yep,
Wow.
that you could hook up to it. And then it also had one other card here. This is the digital input card. So it has all these different inputs. If you can-
This is almost like what you can get with like a Raspberry Pi now with all those kind of like header connectors.
This
and-
was kind of that mentality back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
But back in the day, all those opto isolators so that your digital inputs didn't fry your CoCo, those were hard to come by. That was extra work.
What about
Okay.
is there a dual defibrillator for when you go when David has a heart attack by
That's what the stepper motors are for.
having a
Just rev them up and let them go.
So
Sorry, you guys
Clear.
have wound me up. Oh, yeah.
Clear. You gotta put the paddles to David.
It'll be part of the Dave drone. It'll control the rotors later on.
So out of curiosity, I thought, well, shoot, I wonder, does anybody sell any of this stuff on eBay? And so I did a quick search, and a guy had a lot that he was selling. Not a whole lot, but a lot. And he had this here out there. It comes with this nice manual. It's this CS 149 quad smart stepper motor controller.
Wow.
And
When
but then
dual
also-
stepper motors are not enough, we're going quad.
quad.
It's like quadraphonic, man.
Smart.
And
card.
also include, and I'm not sure exactly what all of these do, but it also came with this power driver board, this remote control keypad, stepper motor breakout board, and a switch breakout board. And this is what I thought was really cool is this guy here. This is what it talks about in the manual. And here's your 4 stepper motors.
Those
Well,
are
you're
your
right,
header
Stevie. I'm looking
connectors,
at the screen here, and yeah, this is not focusing worth crap, is it? So
Yeah. But yeah, I can see the header connectors there on the end there. for
yep.
your
So
stepper
motor
yeah.
1, 2, 3, and 4, and it had different inputs. This thing actually has a Z 8400 processor on it, so it's a Z80 processor,
It's a
and
Z.
it has a ROM on it. And so, from what I understand, this thing's actually you can program it, and then it can run on its own. From the way I'm
Wow.
understanding it.
Yeah, it's got a little a battery on there too. So it's got some type of non-volatile something going on with that little battery.
Because a plain stepper motor, you would have to do the timing yourself. I assume this thing, you can just say, go to 43 degrees and it'll just.
Yeah, I have to read a little bit more,
So
but it does.
Frank from Retro Rewind says a 4-stepper controller could power a 3D printer or CNC machine with your CoCo. I smell a side project.
John
Uh,
Linville has the backplane that I sold him.
Oh yeah, for A-bus type stuff.
Yep.
Did you ever fiddle with that actually? Like program or
No.
not like any sample programs that came with it or anything? Or
No.
Wow.
In the package was also another stepper motor controller, like the one I showed you before.
Wow.
And
He
then,
has a real-time clock on his.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo something that Fred Provencha was saying in the live chat too. A-bus is one of those things that I've heard of, but have not really seen. So the fact you've got this much A-bus stuff in one room is pretty remarkable.
And it just got used more than it's ever been used in its entire life.
It's seen more sunlight and oxygen in its entire 50-year lifetime at this point. So
that's a funky looking card.
Also, this keypad here that has these switches, these directional switches,
look at that.
And it has this port here, which I'm assuming corresponds with this port here. And unfortunately, it didn't come with any cables, but we'll see.
I would say just a standard network cable should do
Looks
the
like a
job.
phone line.
And so there's a couple other cards here that I don't exactly know all what. I think this is the power board card. It has some regulators on it. I think you probably input some voltage, and then it probably gives you some. This might provide like some driver voltage for the stepper motors. Here's a controller card. And then this interface card here, which I'm assuming this could plug into one of these cards. Then it has a
Centronics connector in the back.
Yeah, and I'm assuming this would be like if you wanted to extend it to somewhere, you could use this as a cable to get from
or plug it into a PC and drive it.
Oh, potentially, yeah.
Finally, a use for a PC.
When I had the backplane thing, what I thought was that is a chance for things to go up in smoke quick. So I never plugged it in.
Oh.
Hey, Mark Bosley, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you fix the time on your OBS? Because you copied mine and it still says Eastern Daylight Time for yours. And
well, damn, that's what I get for just using your stuff.
Yeah, using my template, right? So,
well, the time is correct. The zone,
yeah,
time
just
zone is wrong.
the zone is wrong. Yeah.
All right,
if you could take care of that, that'd be great. Yeah.
All right, I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, could you get me those TP reports?
Yeah,
TPS reports.
That would be great.
That'd be great. Yeah. That's quite the haul you got there, Brian. Are you done showing us, or you got more?
Well, I can show you guys more, but I can save some. I can save some more for next week. So
actually, Brian, I wanted to show something because it's a bit different than yours. It's My Worlds of Flight, but it's I don't know if this is a newer version of it.
Oh wow!
If you want to share that in the stream, it's quite different than the more plain manual that.
I'm not sure that I can spotlight anybody. So. Okay.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Here, let me get everyone else out of the way.
Is that a slide-in insert or what?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got it even on the spine. It's got it, and then it's got the disc flap and the actual original disc here.
Oh, very nice.
So I'm guessing you must have been the first version of it, and this was the later one, or maybe vice versa.
His is the rare one, Curtis.
Yeah,
well, yeah, he's got all the rare stuff. I just got the generic. 5,000 people have this one.
Well, I'm sure Brian will have a copy just like that by next week.
Well, we were waiting for Mr. Dave too, right? So if you're done, then maybe Curtis can go to the news before we get into Game On, or if you got more to show, then we could, stretch this out.
A few. When I was digging through my boxes, I came across this guy here.
500 more things.
Whoops, I didn't want to do that. I want to do this
just to let Brian a bit of time to back the truck up to his house.
Mike Miller says that Worlds of Flight is one of the games that needs 6309 optimizations.
that's actually probably a good point. It does.
You want to spotlight me again there, Mark?
Put on the spotlight.
Y cable?
There we are.
Ooh.
That is not a Y cable. That is the.
That's a multi-pack on a string, is what that is.
Yeah.
Complete with power overload of the main power supply.
Yeah, I was going to say the three connection Y cables was the most that was ever recommended.
Right. Now, technically, if it's 3 connections, it's no longer a Y, it's a W cable, just so you know.
4.
That's slow.
Or no, actually 4 would become the W. I don't know.
And I can imagine the chaos if you had 4 cards that were all not fully address decoded.
The computer's like, oh God, I'm freaking out.
And then continuing along the multi-pack theme there, you guys have probably seen this one here made by Howard Medical.
Oh wow, look at that.
It was the get the glare off there.
And I think, didn't Orion sell this later, or did Chris Hawks make a version of
Slot
this later? I
pack
can't remember.
3. Slot
Surprised
pack
they
Surprised they didn't
3.
use a cassette
So,
case.
so it's like in a ROM, like in a ROM.
A disc
case, you
controller
know,
style case,
Yep.
yeah.
and then it
Oh,
had
we've
the-
got a little power regulation here.
and then it used some PVC for some standoffs there, so it would, set
It
off
would not-
from
Oh,
Break.
that just so it to kind of balance it when you plug it into the side of the Coco. For,
Because
Exactly.
clearly a full length disc controller is not going to create leverage against those slots, you know.
Yeah, and if you put 3 heavy cartridges like a Burke in that thing's just going to
Uh,
sag to the table without that. So
That's pretty. I mean, literally, that
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like the old FD 501 controllers.
I
It's
think
got
that's
its
literally
own
what they were
power
using.
input.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but they are. It's even got the space for the label on the top. So it's
Yeah.
a handy controller. Where did they get them?
And then,
Yeah, Rick, wasn't Chris Hawks make some of these too?
Mike says it's a hybrid multi-pack / home heating system.
there you go.
Yeah, if you don't need cartridges, just put your coffee on that and it'll keep it
Oh
warm.
dear God!
Here.
The
That is cool,
predecessor of the the ejecting coffee tray.
There you go.
But that is super cool. I mean, it's like so. It's really, when you think about it, it's super efficient space wise.
Place for
Yep.
your
Yep.
cup.
You don't have a
Uh,
Coco close by.
It reminds me of, like, I think Ed kind of took that design and went further when he made his Mega Mini because it's similar. He's got a little stand thing to hold it level
Right,
with the
right,
4
right,
slots,
right,
et cetera, and doesn't take much desk space.
Yeah,
were you-
and you know what? And all the times I kept saying I don't want to buy a mini or a Mega Mini because I have real ones. But now that I'm in a space saving situation, I might have to say, you know
You-
what? Maybe I need one of these.
Your
little-
space has been confined, has it?
Yes, it has. All of my space are not belong to me. So
But Rick, I think you and I both remember those being sold at Coco Fest the years we were all going together in the 90s. And
Exactly.
So Steve, you were asking if I had a Coco nearby. You-
yeah, so I
you
just
wanted
want to see
it.
what that looks like once you fully affix it in with the
So it
support.
does.
Because
So it does line up nicely here. So I mean, as far as the
right.
when you plug it in there, as far as
so
the
they
standoff.
they bent the Lexan properly then.
Yep. I mean, it slides in perfectly level.
Okay, and then that the
And
little
it looks just so different than I expected.
No, that's cool though. When you think about it, that's because a regular multi-pack is huge. It's like a Coco and a half, you know.
yeah,
Which
even
way-
the later ones where they did slim it down from the original
Yeah.
design
Oh,
were
yeah,
still
it-
big.
Which
They're
way do you put
huge
the-
and go ahead.
Which way you put the pack in?
Which,
Uh-oh.
Because you don't know.
This is
Uh-oh.
toward the Coco.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Label
That-
to the left.
And you
that
have a
there's
dead
a-
cocoa.
There's a smoke generator.
There you go.
Right.
That's it.
Because it's there's no like notch or
right,
anything
right.
indicating
Angle,
pin
yeah.
one. Is there a manual that comes with this, Brian, by any chance?
By any chance there is there.
RTFM right there, huh? So
If this isn't like USB, you can stick it
Right.
in either way.
Now that's one thing Ed did improve on his because he
Yes.
actually has it so it only fits in a certain way because he has
Okay.
groups around the socket. So
Right.
good catch there, Rondell.
You
Is
bet.
Is that a three-way switch? So you pick your slot 1, 2, 3?
No, it's so that you could put them in either way, I'll bet you. Maybe it, no, it
You need
doesn't
a
work.
power switch, perhaps.
doesn't work.
It's a polarity inverter, right?
Exactly.
It's a
It is powered,
quantum
so-
universe destroyer.
I wonder if there's a ROM in it. If it is there like a ribbon cable in the back where this is also a disc controller too, or no?
no, it's just slots.
No, it's.
I remember these well from the fest. They were used by
Okay.
quite a few of the vendors.
You
Okay.
switch
These were good
that and
stuff.
it pages the Q continuum.
But it does say on the top though, it says bus extender for the color computer 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, so it's
So-
got
so
the
the-
voltage thing figured out, huh?
Why,
I
It's
guess
got a
it's-
separate power supply you plug in.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
why do you think there's a hole in it?
Because it's a disc controller and they just use the reuse.
So
keys.
that's where
That's
where
the screw.
That's where the screw.
Oh, you mean that
was
hole? I
to-
thought you meant the one on the edge. Sorry, on the
yeah,
back.
that's where they had to
That's
unscrew
power.
it to hack the original
Power in.
contents out of it. So
Complete
Well, and
with
this- and like I said,
wire wrap.
Yeah, they made it out of wire wrap sockets.
Your, vo-
It looks like
your
it.
warranty's already void.
all right. I've never seen that before. That is
Getting
super
that anywhere near your Coco voids the warranty.
cool.
What do you plug in at the end corner there?
That's the
Right here?
power.
That's
the-
for
that's the
12
power
volt power.
jack. The power
Wow.
jack right there.
Okay.
And you can
Uh,
still plug that into anything that'll take headphones, because putting power into a headphone jack would Make total sense.
Now, if you're like Danielle, you can take an actual multi-pack and plug it into slot 3 of this
Plug a
thing while it's
multi-pack
plugged into your
into a
Coco.
multi-pack. And hot swap.
That would work well.
Wouldn't that be cool with some LEDs in the front?
It would. So that's called the Slot Pack 3. That is pretty cool. All right.
Yeah.
Let's-
Howard
let's
Medical
move-
sold it first, and then was it Dave Myers Coco Pro, or was it some other company took it over after Howard Medical? got out
The
of it?
6809 Sam Destroyer won.
Oh, so it's not Coco 3 compatible because there's no Sam.
Whoa, there we are. Little noise there. Sorry, guys. So, okay.
Cool stuff.
That was worth it just for the commentary.
Yeah.
Oh, you want commentary? I can.
All right, David.
So, well, thank you
And
for
the
letting me take
shame-
some time.
That
The
is
shame
cool,
of
Brian.
the shame of all this is that you look at it, you put it back in its container, and it goes on the shelf, and you never use it.
And then there comes a time when you pass away and somebody either throws it in the trash or someone picks it up for $5 at a yard sale.
Well, see, and that's kind of along the lines of what I spoke about last week, where I want to start hopefully this winter doing videos and showing how this stuff runs, and I want to bring this stuff to
Right. At
Coco
least
Fest. And,
document it once.
At least something will exist of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
no, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you
seeing
gotta
some of
promise.
that,
You gotta
seeing some of that
promise.
A-bus stuff at Coco Fest would be cool.
You got to promise that you run the video whether smoke comes out or not.
Especially if smoke comes out.
Don't clean it up, and say, well, we had a little problem, but you didn't see that.
I want my money back. I can't smell it.
This is why I only do software.
there you go. There you go. You want me to swear on the Coco Bible? So anyway, so there we go.
But I mean,
No,
Ron did bring up, or was it James that brought up a point that, when people pass away, a lot of stuff just goes to a landfill or gets distributed, where people don't really know what it is. So it'd be nice we talked about this once before, about a year ago, but having a will for your Coco stuff to kind of go somewhere, it's going to be used, whether it's Glenside or something
Someone
else.
on Discord just posted today that they picked up they basically clearing out this woman's husband's workshop. He was a TV repairman, and she was going to just send it all to the landfill, and he said he'd clean it out for her and pay $100 for everything. And she said sold.
Yeah.
Well,
Good stuff.
most of the stuff I got was because someone died. So
Yeah, like you inherited Paul Barton's stuff, and
I got some of his, but the guy before, Picarillo or whatever his name was, I got a garage full of his stuff.
Well, at least it's staying like in the hands of somebody who's going to
who's
take
actually
care of it.
interested in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some people will buy it and then they'll melt it down for like the gold on contacts or something like
Right.
that, or so.
You know what's funny is we sit here and we clean up our cases, and ultra brightum or whatever we call it, and then in 2112, somebody's going to be going through a garbage pit, and they're going to find a couple of Cocos and think, geez, these things look white.
These things are super clean for
Yeah.
being 120 years old, right? So-
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
What is next?
I
Are we
don't see
ready
Mr.
for-
Dave yet, so
Yeah, well, we get some correspondence from that. So,
Check your chat.
yeah, in the
Yeah,
Zoom
Mr.
chat.
Dave's not going to make it on. I'm just trying to get things queued up here for the draw.
Okay.
Oh, someone on
We-
Discord, when we said that Discord or Zoom was open, they wished us a happy 8-hour show.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, I can get it to 12 if you like.
I think
I
we're
do-
on track.
I do have one acquisition. I have to walk out and get it, but I did get the new book from Glenn Dahlgren. I heard that you showed yours last week, Brian Weasel, right? You got yours.
Yep.
So-
I
Yeah, you got all three.
The
I
three
got,
books, and then yep.
I had the prior two already, but I went ahead and I went all in, and I got the Kindle versions too, because he had a promo on that where you can get the new one for like 99 cents for the Kindle. So I've got Kindle versions, hardbound versions, and audio versions of all of Glenn's stuff. So I started reading his new book on the Kindle, and then I'm now picked it up on Audible. But yeah, I have it. It's a good book as the other ones were. If you've got one of yours to hold up, you can save me having to get off my ass to go get mine. So yeah, there we go. House of Prophecy. Good stuff. Good stuff. And it's signed by the author, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and you got one of the games from him too, didn't you, Brian? Signed?
Yeah, I had asked him if he could send me a copy of
Photon?
the Sinistar.
Sinistar. Now you have to get it
Sinistar.
signed by Dave as well, since he
Yeah,
hasn't read
right.
it.
Yep.
Did
Yeah,
we
it's
want
good
to do
stuff.
the game on results?
That's a question for Ken. I think Ken's still queuing something up right now.
I am ready.
Ken is ready.
Okay, game on results then?
Okay. Welcome to the CoCoTALK Game On Challenge of the Week results video. This week we played Robot Nightmare. We had a total of 21 players. We had Ron Delvaux with 300, Wayne with
Just for you,
500, Mark B 600, Chris B 800, Exile in Paradise 900, Rick U 1200. Tied for 14th with a score of 1400 were David Ladd and AC's 8-Bit Zone. Mr. Dave 6309 with 1500. Canadian Retro Things with 2100. Paul Shoemaker 2200. Coco Man 2300. Jim Rye 2500. Rich N 2600. Sloopy Malibu 3200. Buck Owens 4400. Ken Reichard 5,000. L. Curtis Boyle 5,800. Shenley 6,300. Sabhead 8,100. And the number one score this week is Brian Walsh with 10,100. Thanks everybody that played.
Some of you
and
got.
We will see you again next week.
Some of you got spanked.
Good job, Brian Walsh.
Yeah, the bug finder.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that I personally never would have found that bug, but
Yeah, I got one bug patch from Ken, and then I got another one this morning. Here's bug patch number 2. I'm like, good. I finally got a chance to copy them to my SD card. So I've got the most recently patched edition now.
And for our beta testers,
I think I found a bug too, because when I play it, I get to 300 and then I turn it off and I play it again because I want to be better, and I get to 300. Then I try it again, I get to 300, and it just didn't seem to.
go past 300 on your copy.
Is it my copy or?
I think that
No, I think the carbon life form that's operating it needs a firmware update.
Okay.
I think that bug is residing between the joystick and the chair.
Well, since we actually have the author, Ken, on here, did you want to explain for those who don't know what the bugs were?
Not really.
Just in case somebody hasn't been on our Discord, it doesn't really know that these happen and may want to contact you.
Brian Walsh, the only person who got 10,000, discovered a bug that I had screwed up the scoring edition. So after the first 2 digits of the score are in BCD and a byte, and those are working fine. But when I was adding them to roll over to the other bytes, I was clearing the carry flag when I didn't mean to. So what it eventually came to is that after 9,900, it would roll back to 100 or to 0. So because some bad assembly language programming, when I was clearing, I used a operation to clear a register that I didn't realize also cleared the carry flag, if we want to get technical. And then I had a similar problem with the high score table that doing compares, where it wouldn't compare really anything but the last 2 digits of the score. So
Do you find that one yourself?
No, Brian Walsh found it, of course. He's the only one who scored over 10,000 or more.
So actually, there's no bugs in the game itself discovered as far as just
Just
on the
this in the scoring and high scoring and high score
Yes.
table.
Did
If there's any
Mr.
bugs,
Gimes, did Mr. Gimes ever do anything for this game?
I don't know where Mr. Gimes has been lately. I think he might be hiding out in, say,
Oh.
Costa Rica or something. I don't know.
He's afraid of you, Ron.
Yeah.
No, I'll bet. Yeah.
He's heard about Ron's reviews of his music, so
I'm
yeah,
just,
he's hiding.
I'm just preparing for the future.
Before we get into the results, can I just pick your brain a little bit, Ken, on what was the inspiration behind this? And that, because it kind of just came out of nowhere. And then boom, and it's really good. It is a really, it's a stunning achievement. It's a very playable, very well polished, fun game.
State of the art high res graphics.
Yeah.
It is a fairly loose adaptation of a M Network Atari 2600 game called Dark Cavern, which is the Atari version of the Intellivision game Night Stalker, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one where you run around the maze with like a gun and you have to shoot at things.
Yeah, it has a little spider web on the left, and
Now the Atari one doesn't have the spider web and stuff. So they actually, although if you remember M Network, they would do versions of Intellivision games and they would usually be really similar. But
Mhm.
this particular one is quite a good bit different. The Night Stalker plays a lot more slowly and methodically, and Dark Cavern is more of an action game. But I was originally trying to come up with something more jokey. It was like Ukulele Hero or something where you'd have to destroy $5 ukuleles or something. But I couldn't get anything to look the way I wanted to, and I wasn't really sure what the game would be at that point. And plus, I think the joke is way out of date.
Which makes it all the more.
That's all of our
relevant
jokes,
to
Ken,
use,
just so you know.
yeah.
Maybe
Are you
someday
ever-
I'll come back to that. But
anybody
Our,
that's
our jokes are as out of date as our computers.
Are you
If
gonna
not
do-
more so.
Are you going to do Pumpkin Nightmare next?
Pumpkin Nightmare.
Pumpkin Spice Nightmare.
Pumpkin Spice
Oh, here you
Nightmare.
go.
Yeah,
There you
there you go. But you had sent me an advanced screener copy that I fired up, and I didn't realize at first time I played it, I think I told you this, I didn't realize it was a semi-graphics game. I thought it was a Color Computer 3 game because it was just so colorful. It didn't look obviously like semi-graphics when I first played it. It just looked like a really cool low-res, high-color game. Now when I look at it again and I look at the palettes and that kind of bright cyan, I'm like, oh yeah, that's obviously semi-graphics. But first time I played it, I'm like, man, this is really cool Coco 3 low-res game, So
Yeah. This was also just, I wanted to I was still going to stick with semi-graphics, but I wanted to use one of the higher modes of semi-graphics. I didn't want to use the old SG4. So of course I couldn't use text because I wanted to run on all three versions of the color computer. And so I just started off, made a man that I could run with a few frames of animation, and eventually just went in there, did a maze, determined how I was going to determine what was a wall, what wasn't a wall, and all this, the technical coding things. And it just kind of trying to mimic Dark Cavern, mostly because when I did that, I said, hey, the robots in the Atari game look pretty much like the robots I came up with. Now in the Atari game, there's a spider that I couldn't get to look good within the constraints that I'd set myself. So I converted it to a spider, or I'm sorry, not to a snake. And then the blobs look quite a different, but they still in the Atari game, but I just used a bunch of colors and different things and kind of make them somewhat shimmer. Like the Atari game, the bottom of the robots kind of rotate around to give it like there's some sort of motion to it. One thing I liked about that game is the robots could shoot at you even after you shot them, which I'm sure some people didn't enjoy that very much. But that is straight from the inspiration game, because you have to duck around corners or sneak up behind them. At least with the initial robots that only shoot the direction they're moving. Later you get the two-headed robots, or two-faced perhaps, where they'll shoot in front of where they're going and behind them. So those are harder to sneak up on. You got to do a lot more ducking around corners, putting as much distance between them as you can so you can get out of their shot before you end up suffering the same fate they do.
I have to ask you, Ken, I know you wanted to get some higher semi-graphics. Was that partly inspired by the fact that Nick's cranked out a few and he's actually working on a third right now, kind of doing the similar thing where he wants to kind of push the Coco 1 and 2s?
Yeah, I was definitely trying to rip Nick off.
Okay,
Definitely.
good.
Did you pay the proper licensing fees for the use of the semi-graphics mode to Nick Morentis?
I did, and I sent them in a kangaroo, but I don't know if they've arrived.
It drowned on the way down.
I sent him on a boomerang, but somehow it came back.
Well, I tied the kangaroo down and it just didn't seem to go anywhere.
Yeah. You tied it down with one of those original first gen mice that weighed so much, so it just sank to the bottom.
Ken, is there something else coming for Christmas?
I doubt it. I have something else.
How long did it take you to develop this, Ken, just out of curiosity?
Well, this
Santa Nightmare.
This actually, I started it over a year ago and worked on it for a while to a point. Then it just kind of sat on the shelf for a while. I just got busy with other things, and eventually decided I wanted to revisit it. So, and several months. So this took me a lot more time than Nightmare Highway.
Nightmare Highway.
Thank you. But it wasn't all together. I mean, sometime during the middle of the summer, I picked it back up and got it from is the first state. When I showed Jason it a long time ago, it just had it where the guy could run around the maze, the robots and stuff would run around the maze, but didn't have any collision detection or anything. That I got to that point and I just stopped. I don't know. I just got overwhelmed or busy or ran out of inspiration, I guess. I don't know. You know, say writer's block. I had what's hack block.
Burnout.
Any others on the shelf?
No, nothing's on the shelf. I have sort of idea when I might do another semi-graphics, probably maybe another recreation of an M Network game that can use most of stuff that I came up with this and be similar. But if that ever comes, I don't know if it'll come or not. And if that ever comes, then probably the one after that, I'll try doing something else, move up to a P mode 3 or something, or work.
Well, this is a question I always bug Nick with here. I'll bug you about it now too, since you're doing semi-graphics games. Is there any reason you didn't pick semi-graphics 24 to get a better vertical res? Was it just speed or RAM? You wanted to fit it in a certain amount, or?
No, I didn't seem like I needed any more lines in there. The bummer about semi-graphics is, well, not only that you got to make sure you only have a color in black in the byte for each two there, the two on each vertical line are pretty damn fat relative to the vertical thing. So that's what really limits you on that. But I didn't have a great reason. I think I just picked 12 and stuck with it. Semi-graphics 12 and stuck with it. So
yeah, the reason I bring it up, and I've mentioned this, Nick, in private, is that the two best semi-graphics games I've seen on the Coco 1 and 2, Protectors 2 and Guardian, both use an SG24 style. And if you use like cross-hatching techniques and stuff, you can get some really, what looks like detailed graphics. It looks very close to a 2600. But I thought maybe speed, because you're having the amount of screen you have to move around and keep track of. So maybe that was part of the reason.
I wasn't planning that far ahead. I just picked it and stuck with it. And if I thought I would have needed it, I probably would have gone back and redid it in SG24, but I didn't seem to. And it was good enough for the kind of graphics I was doing. That might have helped me with the spider and such to get a little bit better. But mostly a lot of the things that were limiting me was the horizontal resolution, which stays chunky no matter what.
You definitely have to design with that in mind.
Yeah.
Ken, are you going to give permission to this to be ported by Jerry to the MC10?
If he wants to port it to the MC10, he can.
I don't think the MC10 supports the higher semi-graphics modes, does it?
I don't know.
No, it doesn't.
It only supports up to 4K RAM.
But he's magical. He can figure out something.
No, you can't.
But I thought these semi-graphics 12 required the SAM and the VDG working together, and the MC10 doesn't have a SAM.
No.
So then it'll be really tough for him.
I was just going to make a comment.
He'd have to redo it using semi-graphics 4
or
it'll
6
lower, or 6. Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Oh, I was just going to make a comment. Being a Roger Moore 007 fan. I really appreciate your background, Ken. And
Well, ironically, I picked one from a Sean Connery movie.
Sean, isn't that Moonraker?
No, that is You Only Live Twice.
Are you sure?
That's
I
the
thought
Japanese.
It's the volcano.
Oh, is it?
It's my
Volcano.
volcano layer.
Oh, I thought that was
The,
the
the
Moonraker
lake or
scene.
whatever that was metal.
No, oh, I thought that was the Moonraker one where he opens up the cavern and then they go up there. No, Moonraker, they do take off on the shuttles, don't they? Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
You're right. I got my 007s turned around. So
Bonds crossed.
He's
That's
right.
Yeah.
It's
And then
like
my
he'd be
other
wrong.
my other comment is the packaging and everything was really great. I really enjoyed that. That was nice.
Yeah, that's another thing I pretty much ripped off of Nick. So
There you go.
You have a little mini me there somewhere?
yeah, but I don't want to get the stream demonetized.
That's Jason.
So Nick, you actually popped into the stream briefly there. As somebody who's done a lot of these, semi-graphics types games before, what was your opinion of Ken's? I think Ken is
it's
your
good.
first higher semi-graphics game you've ever done, right?
Yes.
No, it's good. It had that. It's good to see other people also using the semi-graphics mode. So it's got, a few 8 colors at least, bringing the color back to the color computer, which I've been saying for a long time. But it's not just doing the game. He did the complete thing. He did the title screen. He did the high score screen, the instruction screen. All that flow is something that I was doing way back in the 80s, and I was inspired by back then on the TRS-80 Model 1, Big 5 software. Their software always stood out. It always had the polish, the whole game. It wasn't just a game. It had the title pages and everything, and it went from one page to the other. It was packaged nicely. It looked like a commercial product. It was done well. That's what I've always liked about software. That's what always inspired me to do a nice commercial type looking product. And Ken's done the same. It's great. It's good to see that coming to the Coco.
Yeah, there were a lot of really good games that then they kind of like high score or whatever, they would look really bad.
Yeah, and Ken's looks nice. And having the 8 colors, it helps.
Yeah. And another reason to put semi-graphics is just with semi-graphics, there's going to be less memory to move around. I can get away with I can get away with much more inferior techniques and probably have a whole lot of bad coding hidden by the fact that I didn't have to move that much. I don't have to try to figure out what the hell stack blasting is. You need a cannon to do it.
Or compiled sprites or
Sprite. I usually don't drink Sprite. I got Diet
Sprite
Coke here.
Zero.
Well, it's a really good game. It's a fun game. I like the 3D-ish look you got on the walls by using a darker blue with a lighter blue on, stacked diagonally. Like that actually gives it a bit of a 3D look.
Yeah.
Like depth.
I wasn't necessarily going for a 3D look, but I originally when I've done it, I just had it being solid. I think the cyan light blue, and I was like, well, it's fine, but it just was missing something. It looked too dull. So I just a point tried the 2 different colors and cross hatchet, and I really like the look better. And I guess you are right. It does give it sort of a fake 3D look, but I just was trying to get something that didn't look so. The other way with it just all being solid blue, it just looked heavy. And
Yeah, like when you complete a level, you actually flash it to that solid. So you can see what
Right.
it would have looked like if you had left it that way. And I much prefer the look you actually ended up giving it.
Yeah, I just thought it looked a lot better. So
CoCoTALK got to come up with something to give programmers when they do a star job, like a star or some kind of a,
But we let them star on the show, isn't that?
a wet willy on the forehead type of thing.
Like a CoCoTALK trophy or something like that. Yeah.
Badge of shame.
Yeah.
say like you get a trophy that says world's greatest grandma or something.
Yeah, something.
Whatever you find in the garage.
Because look at Nick has had nothing but good things to say.
The bowling champion of 1974,
Yeah, perfect.
Well, that's why I wanted to bring Nick into the conversation because he's been a professional games developer for decades.
Right.
And he really liked your game. And he mentioned that on the stream last night after you left. So I wanted to make sure you heard that. coming from
thank
somebody
you.
that knows what he's talking about.
What I'd like to
I'll-
thank is all the people who've actually parted with their own money to buy a copy of this. I mean, it's nice just that someone willing to spend, $5 or $10, depending on what you get for some of this. And it's even better when they enjoy it afterwards. Although,
Well, not only that, but there was support because when you said you had to, upload or go ahead and get a newer version that was fixed, we only spent like 4 hours on the phone together, and it was not a big deal. No, just kidding. It wasn't 4 hours.
seemed longer.
I will
Seemed
say
longer.
No, he outsources his tech support to India. So
Hello, my name is Joe.
thank you for calling.
Ron? Is
What
it
be wrong
Ron?
with your elephant?
Speaking
Oh,
from personal
okay.
experience, this game was worth every penny.
That's right.
And the other good thing as well is the way it was distributed as well. He had the CD, the full package version, which a collector could buy. But for other people, you can just download it for whatever it was. How much was the download? $5 or whatever. And it was
$5.
online, and you paid for it, and you got it within 24 hours. So you didn't have that wait time. It was low cost. It was easy. But you also had a commercial package for the collectors who want to see a nice box with artwork and all that.
Well, actually both, because I have my shrink wrap one, and I got to play it too. So
I wanted to
tried
call,
to
I
when
wanted to
someone-
call him and find out if he had Y modem protocol.
I tried to when somebody bought a physical version to go and send them the electronic version, since they didn't have to wait for the post office, and because they're being produced on demand at Kanaki. So, and especially for Nick and another person in Australia, they didn't get theirs for a month. So
Yeah, the CD.
That sounds
took
like
a
something
month
else
to
you stole
get
from
in.
Nick.
what else did I steal from Nick, Jason?
Sending the image after someone buys a physical copy.
Oh, yes.
very cool.
I'm just ripping Nick off. If I could do an Australian accent, I just all that's have to do.
Crikey.
You just
Maybe you
have
should
to-
start
Crikey.
calling all your products by Australian names. That would be a real ripoff. Oh wait, somebody else already does that.
Hey, that's my bit. Crikey.
Maybe somebody could start with like a Czechoslovakian thing. How many things do they have? Well, nothing really, do they?
I really enjoy doing it. It's strange. I'm programming Coco stuff on assembly language, and I'm finding that sometimes soothing. That's
That
Not
is definitely
stressful.
strange.
A real programmer.
it was something I was stressed out about things, and I was programming assembly language, and that was calming me down, which I thought didn't make a whole lot of sense. But I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out, except for the bugs that were found after I'd sent it off that I was.
Oh,
felt dumb
Nick's
for.
had that too on occasion. I mean, everybody has. I've done that as
I
well.
never have bugs, or none that I mentioned.
I just felt dumb that I didn't. This is an edge case. I should have thought the tests, and I just didn't.
Don't you work together with your brother? Like, doesn't he do bug control and all that?
You don't regularly score over 9,000 points on these games?
I have never scored 9,000. I think the 5,000, that was my best score ever, I think. Except for ones where I set the score higher
Yeah,
to
at first
start
when he was
for
going over
testing.
the list and I saw you in there, I'm like, well, that's kind of a ringer if the guy who made the game has the best score, but luckily you weren't.
Well.
You were in the middle. So
I knew that I needed a sandbag to keep suspicion down. But like another thing I'm ripping off from Nick, I'm not necessarily that good at the game I wrote. So,
yeah.
That's
But I
same
think-
here.
but I think this one came out. I thought it works a lot. I thought a lot better than my previous effort, even though I thought I was happy with that. I think this is better. I mean, it's a
And your
different
next
game.
your next one will be better again.
Yes. If
Yeah,
only,
when they-
if
when
only
they
I did
start-
this
when they
30
start
years
getting
ago.
worse, it's when it's time to
Yep.
get a new hobby.
Yeah. So unlike Nick, you plan on keep improving. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, they say the best laid plans,
So I guess as the author, are there any strategies that you think are worth talking about? I know we had a few suggestions on the stream last night, including a few I never thought of.
Well,
Don't die.
my-
Don't die.
Don't
Yeah.
die. Well,
Definitely.
the main strategy is definitely for the single head robots or the single. Do your best to sneak up behind them and shoot them from behind. That is the best strategy for that. Don't, if you go on straight at them, you might get them, but they still can get off that shot while they're dying.
Which is annoying.
Right. And also you can't just go in and shoot. You have to spend a lot of time ducking around corners, seeing where you can find, if you find a long passageway that you can anticipate where the robot's going to go and shoot. And the robots
that's
do
more my
change.
strategy.
Yeah, so it's mostly ducking around corners long. The robots, they either, and it changes level to level, either go just randomly traverse through the maze. And as you get a little bit further on, they start having certain more robots will actually track you either where you are or the square in front or behind you or something like that. Kind of Pac-Man like, just to get that changed. The monsters always go, the snake and the blob, they're always just randomly going around the maze, which is amazing. They really cause more trouble than you think just randomly going around the maze. Because when I hate the blob, because the worst thing to do is be out of bullets and be waiting for the ammo box to come so you can get your more bullets. So that's one of the things you can do is if you get killed and you don't have a lot of bullets, just stay in the home thing until the ammo box comes so you can go straight and get more bullets. No, you're not forced out in any time. You can stay there forever. So
that's the pause function.
That is the pseudo pause that I deliberately put in. Or not. So those are kind of my hints or tips. I'm really interested to see what other people came up with, because obviously some people are a lot better at it than I am, other than just be fast, don't die. So those are my
the long
tips.
hallway, waiting for a robot to come around the corner at the end of a hallway. You're at the opposite end, and you fire the shot even before they get there, so it takes time to traverse across the street, and then you duck into the side. That was what I did.
Yeah, that's a lot what I would do, especially on the fourth maze has one really long hallway that you can really exploit that on.
Yeah.
That's some of the differences from the Atari game. It had one maze and it just started and you never left the maze. I wanted, after a while, I said, I need more variety in this. This is too much of a rip-off of the game. So I said, well, you need some way to make it so you get another maze. Well, the obvious one is how many robots have you killed? And then I originally started with, okay, you killed the last robot and now you flick and go to another maze. And that just, I didn't like that. It just was too abrupt, didn't do it. So that's when I came up, well, I need once you shoot so many robots, then a escape hatch will go so you can fall down into the next level. And so once that, and then I was able to do the little animation that the interstitial graphics as you fall into the next level. So that was the main flourish there. It's not exactly Donkey Kong, but And
there's 6 mazes in the game, right?
4.
Okay.
There are 4 mazes. They just keep repeating over and over again. After level 20, if you can get that far, and I have tested it because setting it to start at the high levels and setting the number of robots down low, then the maze just disappears and you can become just invisible. So you have to traverse the maze invisible without being able to see the maze walls. So, and you can of course
be a bugger. I never got near that.
Yeah. And you can do that if you want, because if you look at the bottom of the manual where the secrets that I really shouldn't be telling anybody is that when you're on the menu screens, if you press 1, well, that just starts you in the normal version of level 1. You press 2, you can start at level 6. Press 3, you can start at level 11, and 4, you can start at level 16. And then if you press the 5 on the keyboard, it'll turn the maze, make the mazes invisible. And if you press 6, you'll make them visible again. So you can play with these things in the secretly off the secret menu that's as secret as the in and out menu now. So
basically you can make it harder.
You can. I don't know if that's an advantage or not, but it's there.
I'm also curious, Ken, for yourself there. I know talking to people on the stream there, because I was playing on keyboard controls because you have both keyboard and joystick. And I found that a little bit easier for me to control, just probably because I'm more used to that style of game on a keyboard. But it looks like everybody else in the stream is playing on joystick. What's your preferred method?
Keyboard.
Oh, good.
It's keyboard, mostly because that's what I played it for a while, where I just had keyboard controls. I was always planning on adding joystick controls, but I was building on my laptop and testing in VCC, so it's much easier just to use the keyboard controls. In fact, the keypad on the laptop is much easier to use than even the Coco one. Even, well, I don't know. I didn't have a Coco 2 to try for that one. I don't know if that works. But even on the Coco 3, I did let you use the left and right keys and the Alt and Control for up and down too, to make it more similar to the Coco 2 keyboard if you wanted.
I like that. Yeah.
So I tried to leave options, and for the joystick, I felt lame, but I just used the ROM routine to read the joystick. I gotta figure out how to do it timing more to get it more.
I was using the D-pad on with VCC and using the D-pad on a controller, which worked good because I could let go of the D-pad so it instantly centered, and then I could turn the corner much more simply than if I tried to just drive myself around the corner. I kept running, turning too quickly, or I'm not sure what I did wrong. But the keyboard, same way. You could let off all the keys and you were centered, where the joystick, you weren't really until you got back over to a centered position. I just fumbled a lot.
Yeah, I think but how I programmed the joystick controls probably could use another more refinement, but it works well enough. But I don't know. I haven't used it as much. I thought it works fine, but I prefer the keyboard on this. It gives you just quicker
More
throws,
control.
Somebody on the stream last night was saying that they're playing with an Atari joystick through a converter, and it was working really well.
I think that would be better. Just like, what Nick talking about, I think for Popstar Pilot, how he originally were using a D-pad or a Atari type joystick, and eventually had to change the programming to help the people who are using, the deluxe joystick or the Black Beauties have some sort of chance to be able to play the game. I still can't play that game for anything, so it doesn't matter.
Also, a bit of an aside here, but I just wanted to do a shout out to, I think it's Saco Paco, first time chat in our Twitch. He says, "Greetings from Spain. I'm not a Coco fan, but Dragon 32. I listen to your stream time to time. Good job. Regards." So
Hola.
Thanks for listening.
Cool.
Gracias.
One thing this game, a lot of the games that we play on the Game On Challenge, if we played the same game 6 months later, everyone would get about the same score. This is one of those games, if we played it again 6 months from now, I would do much better because I would know how these stupid robots work.
Well, if I had 6 months to practice, I might do better.
Exactly. Same here.
While we're talking about this, I'm just going to show some footage from last night. So,
yeah. What were some other people's tips, hints and tips, things I haven't even thought of? So
the long hallway ducking is the only one I really.
It is aptly named.
Don't run out of bullets.
Yeah,
that's what happened to me right off the bat. Is I blew my bullet wad real quickly.
And running out of bullets can be very bad and set you in a really vicious cycle, especially if the ammo bin appears like on the opposite side of the maze from where you are, where you have to race to get there. And maybe you get there in time, maybe you get shot. Or that damn snake gets you and now you're stuck. And by the time you get to move again, it's too late.
Yeah, go and share again. I've got to make some
yeah,
changes so
my
you can see it.
computer's acting up on me. So
Yeah. The good thing about
I just tied Rondovo's score of 300. I just tried it back here in my Coco.
awesome.
Did you use keyboard or joystick?
I couldn't figure out how to get the joystick to work. I'm on a switcheroo product and I couldn't figure out how to get it to go. So, but again, on keyboard, I did really badly.
Left joystick, push the button. Then it goes.
I do like the fact that he also put in, like, you could use the 4 arrow keys, which are nicely situated on a Coco 1 or 2 keyboard, but you had the option of using Alt Control on a Coco 3 keyboard, so you can still have the 2 hands controlling your 2 axes of direction.
Yeah, I figured if I didn't, you'd complain.
I would.
no,
it's a fun game.
I have to say that the game was just frustrating enough that it kept you coming back, not so frustrating that you just rage quit. So
yeah, you would improve, like, once you start figuring out, like, ducking in hallways and stuff like that works, and
Yeah, you can't just run straight at them. That doesn't work.
Well, you can,
it's
but
kind
you
of a
die.
Well, you
stealth.
can.
It's a bit of a stealth game in some ways.
Yeah, and the Atari game plays similarly. So that's what I liked about it. I think and that's why I chose that as a basis for what I was doing.
It's a
Easy
lot
for you
harder
to
than
play.
Night
And that-
Stalker.
Yeah, it's similar strategy to Nightwalker, but it looks more complex.
Well, like I was saying, Dark Cavern on the Atari, even though it's kind of the version of Night Stalker, it plays a good bit differently. Than
Yeah, it's
Night
more of an
Stalker did.
homage than a clone of Night Stalker.
I assume they just decided they couldn't do it on there, so they just did something similar. And nobody here said the same thing in that on my game and on their game. The robots look like wrenches, or I guess spanners to some of our friends. In fact, why is it called a spanner? I don't understand. What is it spanning?
You can span the wrench open to clamp onto.
Yeah.
But you're wrenching
across the nut.
But you're wrenching the bolt out.
Yeah, but you're spanning it open to the right size.
That's only if you have an adjustable spanner. If you have a regular fixed size spanner.
Then it's a fixed size that it spans.
And it's spanned open to a fixed size.
Alrighty then.
Why the hell are we talking about this?
So we can continue this another 200 years.
Sounds like
Okay.
6C and Waylon need to fill us in
U.S.
here.
Customary versus metric. Go.
No, Whitworth?
Wentworth.
What?
Yes.
Wentworth, yes. The British
Wow.
thing that nobody uses.
Well, my 64 Datsun pickup did with its 1200cc engine.
Anyways, I do have to say that this game definitely had a good turnout for the Game On Challenge and for the live stream too. At times we had up to 6 people playing at once, so that's a
Yeah, it was too bad. Ken was actually on the call very early on, but he actually,
Yeah.
he had to go eat or something.
well. Fortunately, he left before you and Nick started praising him so much, because otherwise he would have been demanding money to be on today's show.
I would have just got embarrassed or suspicious if someone praises me too much. Seriously.
But yeah, I think from what I understand, a lot of people had a lot of fun playing this game.
Well, it looks like I avoided the sophomore slump for this. So
No, it's a well done game. It's fun. It's quite challenging until you start figuring out some of the little ways you can actually not get shot killing a robot. And then you
still
kind of know that
challenging
you can
when you
get
do.
better, so you keep going at it. So
But it's still challenging even when you figure out those ways.
yeah, but I did feel I was improving. I mean, I did make it up to
Yeah.
level 6 at one point near the end of the streams, which was doubling how far I'd gotten previous to that. So you get that rush, like, oh, I made it further. I know I can get even better now that I'm kind of figuring it out. Then
Wait,
you
you
have a
mean
crappy
there's
game and
stuff
die.
past level 3?
Yeah, I made it to level 6.
It will, in theory, go on to level 99, but
Have you tested what happens when you wrap that?
I have. It just goes back to 99 again. That
Oh, okay.
that was an edge condition I did manage to test, although I figured I'm going to get there.
And you had a lot of zeros in the score with hopes that people were going to get some pretty high scores.
Maybe that's just a teaser. Maybe it's just easier to put a bunch of zeros in instead of
They
trying
could get up
hit
to
blanks.
99,999,999 before they wrap the score.
Yeah, beers, bottles
If
of
that
beer on the
worked.
wall, 99,900 bottles of beer. Yeah. And of course, in the tradition of most great games, the last 2 digits of the score are dummies.
Yeah.
Just to make things more impressive.
Have you tested to see what happens if you get over 100,000 now?
Yes, I have.
So it should work on
It works.
100,000.
Yeah, it works just like the other bit. So, it's the same loop of code, so that works fine. And the
Once
other
you
thing
fix
to
it.
know is that we haven't talked about is that another key to scoring is to get robots in succession before the new ones come out, because you shoot the purple ones, the remainders turn orange and become worth 200 points. And when there's more, that you start, the yellows are 400 points, And when you have 4 robots and then you have to get all of them, the last one's green, worth 800 points, and you get an extra man. No. So
Also, something that people actually did discover too is that you can't just farm robots in this game, because once you kill the number of robots you need, you don't get any more points. So
yes, I thought of that one. It's like no. But they still make you go out there. That you can farm bullets though in that condition if you want, because you can keep collecting bullets until you want to go to the next level.
You got your 99.
Up to 99 bullets.
And it's good that you did all the numbers and the letters are all drawn in graphics. So therefore the game works on a CoCo's, well, every CoCo, even the
including a CoCo 3.
Yes, that's I want to do that. So, I don't see the point in making something that doesn't run on all 3.
Yeah.
But has it been ported to the Dragon 32 yet?
Or
the Dragon 64?
It should
There
work.
was a guy, who was it? What is his name on Facebook, who was doing it and was asking some help on it. And I was trying to do it because the main thing that need to be done at first is obviously the keyboard needs remapping. So you have to change the routines where it accesses the keyboard, since the matrix is different on the Dragon. And also then the scoring saving would have to be different because the Dragon uses a totally different DOS. But when I was trying to do it on my own and get it just running in XROAR, I was getting nothing but a blank screen. So I was doing something wrong. So I'd like to get it ported for the Dragon, but apparently I'm too stupid or something. I know the one guy, I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head. He said he had it running under the Dragon without the high score saving, which might not be relevant with the Dragon anyways, because I know there was a DOS, but in the UK, I guess mostly they didn't get past tape at any point.
Yeah, and the DOS is very different than ours.
Yeah.
It's actually better.
I'm sure it is, but the DOS was, our disk extended basic was simple enough that it doesn't use half of the menu track 17. So I was just able to store the high score stuff on some unused sector of track 17. I didn't have to worry about anybody saving over it or anything.
Well, actually, you do have to have an upgraded DOS, like a DOS or something, because it will use those extra sectors on track 17 to fill out directories. So just a warning to people that are running like an DOS with an 80 track disk or something like that, then maybe keep this one on a separate disk by itself.
Yeah, I don't know about those ones, but yeah, for this extended basic, what do people normally do with that? Do you just have to write a routine that checks reads the directory folders to see where you can put something, or because
for the bigger disks?
Well, or just in general when you're saving stuff to disks from assembly language. So I was just using the diskcon that all basically was read or write from
raw
a sector.
read-write sector. Yeah.
So, and if you wanted to, I suppose you could go read your way through the directories and the granule.
Yeah,
table.
you pretty well have to parse it yourself because there's no calls, legal quote unquote calls in disk basic to open a file as opposed to the disk itself. So you have to basically write your own routines to traverse through it, or you can do direct ROM calls, but then you're worried about a 1.0 versus a 1.1 versus an ADOS versus an CDOS versus all the different DOSes we had back then. That's why I went to Nitrous 9 actually, because I don't have to worry about any of that crap.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wouldn't that be a lot easier in OS 9?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it would be, but yeah, that's where I just saw that standard disk basic, it didn't use those sectors. So I said, oh, well, I'll just put them here. But yeah,
no, as long as you're running a 35 track disk, you're fine. Or
Yeah,
even a 40 track probably would be safe. But if you're running an 80 track with extended ADOS 3 or ADOS 3 or some of the other ones that did support 80 track, I think one of the JDOS, what is it? CDOS, whatever JDOS called it, I can't remember. But yeah, a few of those did use the entire track 17 to do like 158 granules on the disk type thing. And those you would have problems with, but as long as people know ahead of time, that's no problem. If you create a 35 track image, it'll know to keep it 35 tracks. So just run it that way.
Most people have a CoCo SDC anyway.
Oh yeah, there's that. Yeah. That's why I don't even try to distribute them on actual discs or anything like that.
Yeah.
Another reason for doing this game is I was just getting sick and tired of hearing about Petsky robots. So I made my own semi ripoff.
Yeah,
And
Jay and I'll get back to that eventually.
We made it onto his video where he panned past Jason Stavo, where this had prominent display. So millions of people could see it and not know what the heck it was or care. So
So is Sloopy on the call right now?
I think he is, but I'm not sure.
Oh, did he want to say anything about the Game On Challenge last night, like an announcement for next week?
Yeah, that probably would be a good idea.
don't we have a draw? Don't we have some sort of drawing?
We do have a draw. I'm going to do the draw right after Sloopy talks about our Game On playing last night.
Well, I think we pretty much all covered all the Game On related stuff except for one small little thing. Well, actually two things. Ken, I wanted to say, good game. I like it. But starting next week, we are going to be going back to Thursday nights for the Game On Challenge Live at 8 p.m. So mark your calendar.
Stevie time, 8 p.m. Stevie time.
Yes, 8 p.m. Stevie time. So mark
Eastern for normal people.
Yeah, mark your calendars. October 13th, 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time is when the Game On Challenge will be next week, and it will be on Thursdays for now until the foreseeable future, or until the FCC realizes that we shouldn't be on the air.
You got a yay Thursday again from Mikey in the chat.
Cool.
So that
And
means
yay from me too. It'll make my Friday nights so much better.
Yeah, well, I think you guys had mentioned, like, I kind of asked like why it was changing. And it sounds like there had been some requests from people said they couldn't do it on Friday, but then those people never showed up to the Game On Challenge anyway. So it didn't help them or you.
Friday night is a lot more difficult for me and Sloopy, and people wanted it because they said then it would be easier for them to make it. And well, they never showed up. So
they didn't say they would show up.
Better
they
make
just
it
said
easier
it'd be
for the
easier.
host then in that case.
yeah, we're just going to go to make it easier for the hosts.
Yeah,
Like,
since the people we made it easier for didn't show up, if it's not going to be easy for anyone, then we're going to make it easy for us.
Yeah. Also, then it doesn't conflict with me watching the Amigos on the same night, so that works good.
Yeah, the only thing. Then definitely we need to leave it on Friday then.
Well, the thing is, like,
No,
Aaron was
no.
doing all of his Septandy Coco streams at the exact same time you guys were doing Game On Challenge. I was like watching both,
Yeah.
trying to keep track of everything. It was a bit of a mess. So
Yeah, because one of the other things that was mentioned was it was also the same time as the Glenside Cocoa meetings on Thursdays.
yeah, those are only once a month though. And have they moved theirs too? I can't remember now.
No, they were last night or night before last. They're still on Thursdays. So because there was like one or two people that mentioned that that they couldn't come because they were doing that, and I usually like to show up for that, but I keep forgetting myself.
Sloopy, I think some of your equipment's on fire.
Even though I was officially the representation for the Glenside Cocoa Club at the Tandy Assembly, I still wasn't able to attend the meetings. So, all right. Yeah, that's all I really need to say is make sure you come join us on Thursday next week. And back to you, Ken.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, we promised a draw for all of the participants. Oh, and I just got a note that Mr. Dave may be joining us. So, but
he may not.
What we are going to be drawing for is an exclusive cartridge version of what was the game that the cartridge was again? Oh yeah, Robot Nightmare.
Donkey King.
So it's an exclusive cartridge version of Robot Nightmare made by
Coco
Mr.
Nightmare.
Dave 6309. And
With the bugs included?
Well,
not-
that's why he's not here. He has to fix everything again for the
That is-
second time or the third time. Because I keep
Aw,
sending
man.
patch versions.
Well, I
And
will
I
go
didn't
ahead.
get to,
I'm going to
and
go ahead and play the video that is the draw results, because he did this ahead of time, because since he didn't think he was going to be on here, and if he's on here afterwards, he can talk about the cartridge. Hey, what were you going to say, Slippy?
Darn, whose leg do I have to hump to get into that drawing?
You have to put in a
First, you have to
score
invent
yesterday.
a time machine to go back to when the draw was actually made.
Ah,
I think,
Actually,
Slippy,
before-
you are part of the draw because you submitted a score last night.
oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so
Where do we get the patches for Robot Nightmare anyway?
share?
I
They
got
should have
mine in
been-
the email.
They should have been emailed to
Sure.
you.
Ah, okay.
If
Then
you
I
didn't get
should
an
have one.
email, let me know and I will
That's
make
how
sure
I-
to get them.
That's how I was able to play.
All right, drum roll now. Here is the results video. It is 44 seconds long, so.
You spelled my name wrong.
Yeah, my last name is L, not B.
So congratulations to Chris B for you win. So
Does
You're listening-
does he have to get contact information for you guys?
yeah, Mr. Dave will have to get contact where to send the cartridge from him. So somehow we'll connect over Discord, because of course everybody that participated is members of Discord, so it's easy to get a hold of them.
Yeah, I may not be the winner, but I do have a sealed original copy of Robot Nightmare. So I'm happy.
I have a used original copy of Robot
Used
Nightmare
And
that
here he's
has the
mine.
bug on it that probably will never be seen on this copy, because I will never make 10,000 points.
The only way
Right,
I will
right.
open this is if I get it signed.
There you go.
He can sign the plastic.
Or
Coating
just
on it. Yeah, sign
put
the
a white
plastic.
put a blank white sticker on the front and get them to sign that, and then you don't have to open it.
You really want to kill the value.
Absolutely.
That's the idea.
I
You
want my
bought it
copy with
for-
like a signed check from Ken. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
You
yeah.
bought it for
fun check.
$10. It's now worth $5. With his signature, it's worth $2.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that'll be worth less is the blob of solder that melted Curtis' hair from the soldering iron.
Here's how to make it worth less.
Oh, good grief. You have
Bundle.
a problem, sir.
It's a bundle.
Here, I'll give you this blob of solder to for both of them.
I think you overpaid.
How about this
Yeah.
little chip?
Yeah, this actually burned me. It was on my arm.
Oh, nice. You got some hairs in it to prove DNA?
Solder
Maybe.
Talk is brought to you by.
I have a clear patch on my arm where it was.
All right. I'm
Anyway,
gonna
congratulations to Chris B.
Yes.
Get your contact information to Mr. Dave through our
Okay.
Discord, I guess, or does he have an email address he wants to go to? Or?
Call, Discord. I think just private chat on Discord can do it.
Yeah,
I'll
congratulations.
send him. Oh,
Congratulations to Chris. I've seen video of the cartridge and it's very cool because there's LEDs that blink when you shoot. And I think when you get killed, it's very, very cool looking. I hope you enjoy it.
I'm jealous.
How big is the actual executable?
It's about 19K.
Ah,
I might been able to squeeze it into smaller, but I just didn't try.
If it's 19K, would that work in a Coco 1 and 2? Because doesn't that only allow 16K ROM space?
I don't
Well,
think he really does. He doesn't really do ROMs on it. He said he
yeah.
does something that actually copies it into memory.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
okay.
actually has a small program that actually loads first, and it copies the the
To
program.
where it would normally
the
load
RAM.
up disk or tape then. type
Yeah.
thing.
It
Oh, okay.
copies
I
in
was just
memory
curious.
and
I thought maybe this is a Coco 3 only cartridge.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I asked him as well. I said, well, this isn't in the right address space and what we have to do to move it. But he said, no, he just has something that loads it into memory, just basically a drive emulator in some place, I guess. I don't know. We'll have to let him just talk about
It's
it. when
some
he
of
gets on
his
sometime.
wizardry.
Yes,
He's a
it's-
wizard.
He's a wizard. He's a wizard, Harry. Oh, no, it's not.
Anyway, I'm really hyped up. What's the game next week, Ken?
Okay, well, would you like to see this screen then? Let's see. There.
You're being stalked, Ken.
Yeah, I know. That's my coffee coming in.
I sense a theme with an upcoming quote unquote holiday.
Yeah. Does anybody know this game?
Oh, yes, I do.
don't know.
Donkey King.
Bang man.
Right
No,
company,
it is
wrong
not
game.
Donkey King.
Color scripts it.
Exactly. It is Color Scripts It.
I love Color Script Set. It's
Bang
my
man.
favorite. I'm team Color
And a
Script
prize
Set.
goes to Alan for getting that one correct. The
Yes,
Coco game
I-
with the worst puns ever, or best puns, depending on your point of view.
So here is the title.
I'll stake my life on it.
So
this is a fully legal, downloadable. Copy it yourself. David Crandall gave me permission for that years and years ago when he sent me some of the original discs, actually.
So yes, you can actually get it on Curtis's site or
Woohoo!
from the normal places. So
So I don't have to go to the dark web to get it.
no, you do not. And you don't have to buy bootleg copies off of Mr. Dave 6309 on cartridge.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Coco
And
1 and 2
oddly enough-
games, 16K on cassette, I think 32K on disc, depending if what versions you have. Works Coco 1, 2, or 3. Definitely likes
And this-
artifact colors. So if you have RGB only, you might have a bit of an issue there.
And this is actually suggested by Mr. Dave 6309. And in full disclosure, he actually suggested this game last year for Halloween, but I completely forgot.
Now, you can start on different levels. So you want everybody starting on level 1, I presume?
Yes.
And you probably should explain a little bit of the gameplay because some of it's not obvious. And unless, like, is the manual up on the archive? I didn't get a chance to check.
I believe it is.
If it is, then just read the manual. But if it's not, then we'll have to explain a couple of things that because I've seen other people play it cold, and there's some certain things you need to know, or you're gonna really, really suck. At
Yeah,
this
I've
game.
only played it cold, so I'm not the best person to actually say, but let's see. Fangman Manual. You do give a little rundown on your site. I learned more from your site than I actually knew from trying to play the game. So no, the Fangman is not up there. So
Okay, so a bit of an explanation. Do you have a
Yes.
screenshot we can just throw up just so I can explain some of the features here?
okay, let me just share that again.
Requires a joystick. That's number one. Okay, so you're the Dracula creature in the lower right corner of the screenshot, and basically just wander around with the joystick. Your goal is to get the humans trapped so you can run over them. You can do that if it's a dead end alcove, where you can kind of maneuver because they will run away from you if you run straight at them. Or you can get them between you and a bat. The bat are your helpers, and they will try to herd the humans. No, neither you nor the bat can normally go through crosses. So a cross will block a bat. If you run over a cross normally, though, it will kill you. So don't do that. You also have a roving sun, which is that orange and blue circlish thing in the upper left area. And that will go through anything and kill you if it couldn't contact, and it will track you if it has a line of sight on you. So you can kind of maneuver around corners to kind of throw it off. Now, it will destroy crosses as it's going through, so you can actually get rid of some of them if you actually steer the sun in that way. Crosses are created when, ironically enough, two humans cross paths. It will create that. You can also create extra coffins if two bats cross each other's path, I think it is. And that's just worth bonus points. You do have a little power-up thing. If you hold down the joystick button, you will invert your Dracula sprite, and then you can run over and destroy 3 crosses on your own, but you can only use that once per level. And that's the one critical thing that most people miss. So you can actually try to get things. But basically, you are working with the bats to herd humans, either to get the bat chasing it straight into you or into a little dead end where they can't get out of, avoid the sun, etc. So, and as you go through the different levels, you will get more and more humans that you have to kill. You'll get more bat helpers, etc. too. So It's a really fun game, and be forewarned, the puns are pretty horrible, but they're kind of amusing. And you get a different one for each of the first so many levels, and it repeats. Hopefully that's enough of an explanation. The power up though was the one that most people miss. They just try to do the herding thing, and they just keep dying.
And if you need a recap of that, you can look at Curtis's game site, and he does have that written down.
I will mention too that once you kind of get a mastery of the game, it becomes quite easy, and you can pretty well go on forever. I think Allison Deneau had played this once on a live stream, and she ended up getting like 250,000 points, some insane amount that took like an hour and a half to play. So it's
So
one
we're
that you can
expecting
master.
something great from Buck Owens.
Yeah, you can master this game. This is a game that you can become pretty well invincible if you practice enough.
Were there any bugs in the scoring?
I haven't ran it that long to find out. Well, maybe let Buck do that.
No, but there's humans in the scoring.
It's a fun game, and it's cute. I really like it. It's one that I always bring up for Halloween. And now we've got a competitor. We've got Christmas Rush. I'm covering the Game on News here, but there's a Christmas Rush Halloween edition from Paul Shoemaker. So,
Ooh.
I think you meant Ghost Rush Halloween.
or sorry,
Rush.
yeah. What did I say?
Christmas Rush?
Oh,
That's next couple months.
You're already in Christmas mode, Curtis?
He's just
no. That's the
Jeez,
ironic
you're as
thing.
bad as the
Christmas
stores.
It's the nightmare
Rush.
before Christmas.
I'm the Scrooge of Christmas, is what I normally would be. So no.
Yeah, Christmas Rush is November 23rd.
Yeah, go
Christmas
December
Rush is
24th.
December 24th.
Yeah. That's when I start my shopping.
Me too.
Hey, good game. Works in the Coco 1, 2, or 3. I think there was an official version for the Dragon, if I remember correctly. So that Dragon people can join in on this one too as well. And you can play it on just straight composite or RGB on a Coco 3. The changing of the color of the Dracula character inverts, and that works on both. The sun will look a little stripy, but other than that, it actually mostly is designed as a P Mode 4 game. So it actually will play fine on a Dragon as well and won't look like complete crap.
All right. Well, that is everything I have to say about what segment? Oh yeah, Game On Challenge.
And Mark,
So
I think we
thanks.
should probably do a commercial break before we go into even the Game
Yep.
On News, because we've been going for a couple of hours. So
Just want to say a big thanks to Ken for that game. It was a lot of fun, and
Yeah.
one that
yeah,
will
well
be-
done game, Ken. And when Nick Morendis is praising you, he's either looking for money or he's being honest. I'll let you decide which.
Thanks
I got
everyone.
The $50 came in the mail there, Ken. Thanks.
You're welcome, mate. Well, I just like to thank everyone who parted with a little hard-earned cash to send me for the work I did on it. And I hope everybody enjoyed it, even if they got shot by the robots instantly.
And now you've
Okay.
got really got to try hard for the next one to top it.
Yep, I have nowhere to go but down.
Another
I expect
nightmare.
I expect many more bugs in your next game, since you kind of started a trend here. So
I think I can handle that.
now that
Okay.
hits everybody. So
Break to commercial.
You are watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading weekly video podcast, featuring a Tandy color computer. We spread the love to the past, present, and future for all models, including the original color computer, the Coco 3, and the world-renowned exclusive French-Canadian Coco 2. The Radio Shack.
CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our program, so our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Alan Huffman, Alan Murphy, Blair Ledoux, Boat and Aaron, Brendan Donahue, Brian Weasler, Brian Walsh, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Daddy Burrito, Daniel Williams, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant B., Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, J Style, Ken Reichert, Malfunct, Melly, Michael Pitsley, Mike Rayburn, OG Hugo, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Retro Tech Time, Rick Hewlin, Rob Inman, Rocky Hill, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tim Thayer, Tom C., Tom Gunderson, Tom Heron, Tom S., Tony C., and William Athing. Thank you ever so much, patrons.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord This Week?
Josh KJ7CIKE says, I'm Joshua, KJ7CIK. I'm a licensed ham radio operator and commercial truck driver. I was raised around computers since an early age and became enamored by them and other forms of technology. I didn't start collecting until 2018, but I've since gathered quite the collection of computers from companies such as Commodore, Tandy, IBM, Atari and many more. I don't have a particular preference for brand, but I do have nearly every 8-bit Commodore, so that's one focus. I joined this group due to my growing Tandy collection, including a Model 1, 2, and 3 as well as a broken CoCo2. I hope to glean information from the gurus in here regarding my various Tandy machines and look forward to repairing them. Nat042 says, my name is Chris and I am into all forms of retro computers. I own most of the common 8-bit consumer machines, 64, VIC-20, Apple IIe, Atari 800XL, and many more. I own a CoCo3 hooked up to a LCD panel with a switcheroo. I also use a Coco SDC. I am into exploring the capabilities of these retro machines, retro programming, learning the history and playing games. I discovered the CoCo3 while attending VCF Midwest in 2019 and OG Stevie Stroh had a table set up with a CoCo3 running Nitro S9. I watch parts of CoCoTALK from time to time on YouTube and this community is fun and vibrant and I hope to learn more about the Coco. I plan on going to Coco Fest next April for the first time. A Cooker says, hello all. I'm Tony, one of the maintainers of the Raw SCSI Reloaded open source project, www.rasc.com. I'm joining to learn more about Cocos. I've been an Apple fanboy for my whole life, starting with an Apple II clone. I tracked this channel down after hearing about it from Homer KM. Hopefully you'll let me join to hang out with you. The previous bios were edited for time, thanks to Boys in Tech, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Nightbeard, Glenside Computer Club and the CoCoTALK patrons for boosting the server. Please consider joining Discord and visiting the welcome section to read these bios in full and see what the community has to offer. Just go to discord.cocotalk.live.
See y'all on Discord.
Take it away, Curtis.
Yeah, I'm just quickly changing a few things here. Apparently when I brought up my machine and it brought all the tabs back, it reordered them all on me. Okay, I think I got it roughly in right order now.
I know my Zoom view is a little funky today.
Okay. I've lost track of which one I'm on. Hey, you guys seen that?
Yep.
Okay, so speaking of Halloween themed
Ghost
games like our
Rush.
feature game, our first one is Ghost Rush, not what I called it before. And actually, Paul's released 2 new versions of it. So we demoed the CoCo3 version last time. And it's a free download on Facebook, and I assume it's on the archive soon if it's not already. But he also has gone back and done a Coco 1 and 2 version using artifact colors, which I'll show here. It's got the little animations, and it's very similar to the CoCo3 one, but using the artifact colors, of course, and the twisted music. Well, on the whole, I think the artifact colors actually work fairly well for this game.
Yeah, now they look good.
And of course, the gameplay is basically the same as the original Ghost, except with new shapes. So you've got bats and you've got spider webs in the background. You've got a kind of a Pac-Man style pumpkin. Not sure what that bonus shape particularly is, but
I like it.
there's the Pac-Man you got to dodge, which is a pumpkin. Anyway, so that's up for release. So those of you who saw the Coco 3 version and only have a Coco 1 or 2 at home, you can now grab that version. It's available for download on Facebook. And then just yesterday, I think it was actually, he released a Dragon specific version of it as well. Now, Dragon does not have artifact colors, so he had to go with one of the 2P mode 3 color sets, and thank God he didn't pick the pastel one. But it's still got like the Halloween backgrounds, on the title screen, etc. Here, the little witch hat on the Pac-Man, etc. And this is also going to be the official game. Excuse me, the official game for the Dragon meetup that's happening in a few weeks' time, which we're going to be trying to actually broadcast from live at the beginning of the show, the date of the actual show itself, which will be coming up in the regular news. So they had already picked Ghost Rush as being kind of the marquee game they're going to use for doing some high score competitions of their own at the show. And when they found out about the Halloween edition of it, they were asking as a Dragon version. I contacted Paul and he said, yeah, actually, I'm working on that. So it's actually out now. So this is the exact version they'll be playing at the Dragon meetup, which is actually in Wales, the home of the Dragon, and instead of at the Computer Museum, normally in Cambridge.
Do you see the dragon in the bottom corner?
Yep, the Dragon logo over here.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, no, he did a really good job on this.
Now he just needs to do a semi-graphics version. Semi-graphics.
That might be limiting on printing stuff like high score in Player One, though.
No, he's got pretty large letters there, so.
And to be honest, in this case here, I don't think semi-graphics would really help it all that much. I mean, you might get a bit more color variety, but
we have a black border and.
But the smooth-moving Pac-Man going around the circle, like you'd lose that; it'd become quite blocky. That'd be my.
In horizontal, yeah, you'd have to. It can be done though.
Well, it could be. I don't think he'll put the effort into doing it. He's got multiple versions. He's got all the machines covered now anyway. Coco 1, 2, 3, Dragon 3, 2, Dragon 64, and Coco 3.
He's done pretty good there.
Yeah.
But is this out on the MC10 yet?
I think he's working on it, isn't he?
Yeah, I think I heard that he is actually.
Simon's working on it.
Anyway, this one is also available for download in the Dragon group itself. So here's the link. Of course, it's probably easier to grab the link from the show notes that you can get on our Discord. But basically, the multitude versions, the Coco 3 version, the Coco 1 and 2 artifact version, the Dragon versions are all up in Facebook, either in the Coco group or on the Dragon group. So,
have you got a video there of the Coco 3 version?
We did that last week. Yeah, if he would show up on time,
yeah,
Nick, you would have seen it.
I was probably asleep then. Yeah. So
or that. Yeah, you could have been sleeping. Having his beauty sleep story didn't work. I'm so bad.
Accurate though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not touching that one.
Next up is another new game release that's coming out. This is a Coco 3 only game by Paul Thayer. So we've done little bits of previews and stuff before. You're showing Cocobon. And this one here actually shows clips of multiple levels. So you get to see a lot of the different game elements. Now, as you play the game, and I've helped him beta test it a little bit, though I'm sure some others have done much more on beta testing than I have. There's new elements that get introduced. It's not like, Sokobon where you're just figuring out how to push the blocks of gold or whatever into their final resting spots. You've got teleporters. You've got a shape that you run over that'll flip a deflector. You've got the lasers to unlock locks and all kinds of things. So he does this. He did a 1-minute video here, and he's got his really cool demo screen intro here that we'll be getting to in just a second. You can see the start of it on the screen right now. But he's also got a lot of the different elements, as you can see, going through the levels. And he's actually at the point now the game core is basically done. He's got some disk IO routines for saving scores and saving game states, et cetera, to finish. And he's hitting the same issues that Ken hit during, trying to do it with DiskCon. But he's also looking at doing some final level designs and adding some more levels. So he wants to get some testers to go through some of the levels and make sure, it's ramping up the difficulty in the right order, so the levels in the right order, et cetera. And he said to mention that if anybody wants to volunteer to test this game, contact him on Discord. It's going to be a free game from the sounds of it. And if you contact him on our Discord, his handle is redbeard, 2 words, red the color, beard as in stuff I don't have, but everybody else in the panel does. And then he'll let you actually do some of the testing and give him some feedback. So he's looking for that feedback right now. But he's also mentioned that there's some music in the background of this demo video here that he's not sure if he's going to put in the actual game or not, but it was generated on a Coco. And I think it's using one of Simon's sound routines. So it could go in the background. So maybe give him some feedback on that if you guys would like, some background music, whether it's on the splash screen or in the actual gameplay itself. Does it make him help decide whether or not he wants to include that in the final game, or if he just finds it too distracting? Anyway, I'll play the full clip here just to let people know what this game looks like. As you can see, there's some quite complicated elements and levels that start happening once you get into the later levels there. And there's a few. He wants it to kind of be a bit of an adventure game where you have to discover what some of the new features are as you're playing. So I'm not going to explain some of the things that are in there, though, even though I know what some of them are. I'm sure I'll have some surprises I haven't seen before either. But once again, if you're interested in helping him test the levels, and to test the level order, etc., please contact him under the name of Red Beard on our Discord. Looks like a real fun game, and it is fun. I've played it. It's mostly strategy puzzle. There's a little bit of arcade elements too, because you do get things chasing you and stuff later on. So
he could probably also have the music, but have an option to turn it off.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I didn't really ask him as to why he was, waffling and whether he wanted to include the music or not. I don't know if it was maybe a performance issue, because when you're doing the lasers and stuff, you have to do a fair bit of calculations and things, or if it was just he's not happy with the music track he's come up with, or whatever.
Was everybody able to see the video for that?
Yeah,
I could.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I like the music. It kind of reminded me of Maniac Mansion, actually.
Yeah, I like it too. I personally myself, and if you're listening to this, Paul, I would like you to include the music with the option to turn it off in the background.
Well, right.
Yeah,
You got a volume knob though.
Have the option, yeah.
There's a knob on your monitor. Just turn it down.
Yeah, or have it. Yeah, you could have it actually play a bit softer, because it was a bit loud and a bit jarring. But yeah, have it at half volume wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, that's another option too. Yeah, please give the feedback to Redbeard on our Discord, Gareth. He's looking for some and testers. So, and last of the quick game on news. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
The young people like it loud,
and compressed to heck, yeah.
It's just old guys that don't like loud noises.
Well, that's because we grew up when you actually had dynamics of music.
I think so.
But we have to have it loud so we can hear it.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
What'd you say?
My hearing aid only goes up so much, so.
Get off my lawn. Are we on the next game yet?
If it's too loud, you're too old.
Yeah.
And I'm too old.
Or your hearing aids turned down too low. One of the two.
What?
Or you haven't been playing it long enough to be annoyed.
Yeah. I'm one who, as long as I can turn the volume down on it, I don't mind having background music. I don't like background music when I'm programming. If I'm trying to concentrate on something, that just distracts me because I start humming lyrics and crap in my head. So I'll type in lyrics in the middle of my code and stupid things like that.
Well,
so.
if you think of it, background music is usually low because it's in the background.
Well, but if you're a musician, music grabs your attention. I can't
Yes.
play music when I'm writing because I
Yep,
pay
same with
attention
me.
to the music. It just
Then I start arguing with myself, do I want to keep coding or I want to grab my guitar and play along, type thing. So it just doesn't work for me. Some people, like Bill Noble, he's a programmer that I've worked with for decades, and he loves background music. He always has music playing in the background when he's coding. I can't. I just can't do it.
I have to use like EDM music with repeating riffs and practically no lyrics. I mean, that's just background
That
noise.
doesn't even help with me because I'm trying to
No.
figure out, was that a C sharp?
I'm going to make a lead to this in my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, it
I-
just doesn't work for me. It's too distracting.
I was going to say I like the electronic dance music or techno. No vocals.
Deep house, dead mouse.
Now, if I'm playing a game, I'm perfectly fine with it. If it's part of the game itself. If it's while I'm coding, I don't want any distracting noise in the background at all.
I'm really partial to the David Ladd turn signal orchestra.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Could you imagine that sound that Dave just made playing in the background all the time here? That's what it would feel like for me.
Oh, the David Ladd techno remix. Ooh.
That'd be perfect for Halloween. I'll say that. It'll scare the crap out of me, but
Really?
Really? I was waiting for that.
Really?
Anyway, my last we got not as much news this week because Septandy's over, so there's not a bazillion stories now. So the last one here is Jim Gary's released a text adventure game called Pirate Island.
Just one?
And yeah, just one. He's kind of been taking a break, I think.
It was a slow week.
Yeah. Now, this was originally by David Meny, M-E-N-Y, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correct, in 1985. And he did some changes to it. So he did a few minor like spelling corrections, that kind of thing. He also added a save and load game feature to it. And he actually got in contact with the original author who had made a couple of games and actually got his official permission to put these up as clones. So other than doing the video that he normally does, he also did a blog entry on it here where he kind of goes through describing, getting in contact with him and some of the other games that he's done. And the fact that he's got permission to release them here. So
Isn't it
and he
strange?
actually go ahead.
Isn't it strange to get permission for to do a pirate game?
I never thought of that, but that is absolutely true. Now, one thing here, and this I'm a little bit jealous of. He's got to use a part of MC10's basic that the Coco does not have, which is the ability to save and load arrays off tape. And he mentions that game saving was relatively easy because you can just do the save the array. It's not like you have to write out a loop of array elements like we would have to do. It's just like, star array and the whole thing saved in one shot. So kind of jealous. That's
totally superior to the Coco.
It's handy.
It is handy. Yeah. I have to say that would be nice. I mean, you can kind of do it in Basic 9, but that's because it's Basic 9. Anyway. And that one I already showed. So that's the game on news. So I will stop sharing there and we'll switch right over into the
Hang on a sec.
From around the world, what you need to know. Get caught up on News with L. Curtis Boyle.
And now a Muppet News Flash.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, before I share the screen, a correction from a previous news week. Brendan Donaghy actually sent me an email. I was talking about, I can't remember what the discussion specifically was about the SAM doubler, which is the thing that allows a Coco 1 or 2 to run at full double speed, ROM and RAM, the 65497 poke we normally use in the Coco 3. And I'll just read his email verbatim here, right from Brendan himself, correcting me, which happens a lot. I was catching up my CoCoTALK a day or two ago, and I wanted to share a slight correction. The SAM accelerator, which allows full double speed clock access to RAM and ROM, does not require SRAM, static RAM. It actually doubles the speed of the SAM, and the SAM still does a dynamic RAM refresh. In some cases, it's necessary to install faster dynamic RAM or PIAs, and yeah, we did know that that's the case. Even on the Coco 3, some of the original 150 nanoseconds was kind of marginal. So if you switch to 120s, it solved a lot of weird problems. And then he says, note that a Coco VGA with revision 0.92 or higher is also required because the sampling time of the digital video data is still different and the standard 6847 VDG is unable to capture it. So I'd kind of missed the fact that it requires a Coco VGA. And he says, more importantly, I wanted to credit where it's due. The SAM accelerator is completely Ed Snyder's design. He figured Coco VGA could run faster and he could change the digital video data sampling timing on it. So once he got me a sample SAM accelerator, I tweaked Coco VGA to run at 50 megahertz instead of the original 25 megahertz. Note that the way it's designed today, any high-speed poke does full RAM and ROM double speed. This can render some games, Firefall comes to mind as an example, unplayable with the SAM accelerator. Also, we haven't figured out the incompatibility with real floppy drive controllers yet, but the Coco STC works fine. So thanks, Brendan, for those corrections. For those who are interested in the SAM doubler, because it actually is a faster speed up poke capability that the Coco 3 has that the Coco 1.2 normally does not have. Normally you get the whole screen goes complete bonkers. Dynamic RAM refresh starts to fail, so it'll start forgetting and corrupting your code and stuff every once in a while. I know a few music players experiment with it where they turn on to like full double speed, play a little bit of a note, quickly cut to regular speed so the dynamic refresh caught it back up, and then put it back at double speed and would fry the screen. But you can get better fidelity sounding music, better quality notes, etc. So I did see a few programs back in the day in the early 80s actually did use that. But that actually solves it. Your screen works fine. Anyway, thanks, Brendan, for sending that to me and for correcting me on that. Now,
Curtis.
Yep.
Before you continue, as far as the floppy issue that he chimed in, the credit for finding that goes to Ron Klein, because Ron had contacted me about some issues, and of course, all the machines that he had, I guess, had the SAM doubler in it. So none of the machines that he had were working in floppies anymore. And of course, we were going through, and yeah, it was the SAM doubler.
Random question, hold line timing, and
don't really know because I've got one, but of course, guess what? I don't have an oscilloscope or any way of capturing the bus data on it, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay, well, it does sound like from the way Brendan works, I think they're still trying to figure out the exact cause of it there between him and Ed and possibly Ron and a few others. And for those who don't know, Ron is the main guy behind the Coco Pi project too. Hey, since we've actually got the guest on here, Mr. James Diffendaffer, if you want to explain, I've got both stories here that you did on your blog here concerning the ray tracing stuff. So you got a Coco 3 4-color version here and a Coco 2 2-color version here, but you were actually doing some updates to BASIC and also adding a USR call. If you want to kind of explain what you're doing, and I'll kind of scroll through.
Okay. The ray trace is something I posted during a previous Septandy, and I had added the hardware multiply patch that works with the Coco 3. It copies ROM to RAM, so you can actually tie into it and stuff by overriding RAM. And I added an additional option to, additional thing to it, that it checks to see if you've got a 6309, and then it switches to native mode on the 6309 if you have one. And so it made it a little bit faster rendering that. And that's the difference on that screenshot, is the difference between a regular Coco and one with the multiply patch and 6309 native mode.
Yeah, and that's a pretty sizable. Like, this thing takes hours and hours to render.
I
huge amount
think
of
it takes, the original Coco might take about around 10 hours or more. I know
and that's this version here.
The German text. No, that's a totally different one.
Oh, is that totally different? Okay.
That's a totally different one. Somebody else wrote.
Okay,
but
go back this one.
But the original program that I ported was a monochrome color, and it was done on a Commodore 64. And if I translated the German correctly, it took 21 hours on the Commodore 64. So I just kind of guess at saying 10 hours, because I am not going to sit down and time that. But, even if this is only taking 10, well, the C64 is 1 megahertz roughly, and the Coco 3 is 1.77 or whatever. So it's about, does it about twice as fast after you get all the stuff that the hardware steals, clock cycles on the Commodore 64. So I figured, that's maybe 3 hours less time or something like that on an actual machine. So
yeah, for those who've never ran these types of ray tracing programs before, like, it literally is doing all these calculations for reflections and shadows and multiple reflections and stuff here. And you watch it like draw dot by dot, and it takes a long, long time. And what these side-by-side screenshots are showing here is that he's cleared the screen to white before he starts. and then he's got a drawing, at the exact same time. And the 609 native mode with the multiply patch, and I think you said the multiply patch makes a much bigger difference than the native mode in this case.
Yeah,
basically it's finished drawing here while this has still got all this to finish calculating, which is several hours worth of work.
One of the problems is I don't know how accurate the 6309 speed and 6809 speed is on VCC.
Not as accurate as MAME. I can attest to that.
Yeah. So
yeah, me too.
And I mean I ran I created a user call where you could turn the native mode on and off so that you could use, I mean, it'll screw up disk access and it'll screw up sound, like play command and stuff like that. And so I made it so that you could just call a user routine and you'd poke this in the memory and it would let you turn it on and off so you could access the normal stuff. Now I came up with about a 3% speed difference, but that was by counting number of lines that extra that were completed, and that was kind of an estimate. And then that part of the screen renders slower than the lines above. So when I calculate a percentage of the screen, it's probably more than that. And I came up with like 3%, but it's probably, more like at least 5%. Speed.
Yeah, I mean, the 609 native mode really depends on the mix of instructions and addressing modes
right.
you're using. Like some don't get any speed increase at all, and some are pretty drastic.
And I think one of the big things with combining it with the hardware multiply patch, it cuts 3 clock cycles off of the multiply, if I remember right. So if it got that right, that's 30% of the. It's something, isn't it like 30% of the timing of a multiply instruction?
No, the multiply is only 1 cycle faster. It's 10 instead of 11, so it's only like 10%.
Okay, it's only one. It's the 303 that's 3 cycles faster then. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, it makes it a bigger difference on with the multiply patch than otherwise. So anyway.
Yeah. So you've got like this CoCo 1 and 2 one here we're showing here, and this actually has your assembly source for your detecting and changing to native mode. And then you've got your little basic program that anybody could type in on a CoCo 1 and 2 with a 609. We've been talking about this lately. Ken actually did a video on this recently on is there an advantage putting a 609 into a CoCo 1 or 2 versus a 3, aside from, it runs at 1/10 the power and runs cooler.
And that was
introduced a program that actually will be useful to people because people can write a basic program, run your little routine here, and when they're not accessing disk or playing sound, they can kick the machine into native mode and actually run the code faster.
Right, and it checks to see where the top of memory is, so it works on 16K or 32K, and it automatically checks to make sure you have a 63809 before trying to turn it on or off, so it doesn't accidentally cause a problem.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about whether you have one or not. You can write a program that uses it, and then if someone has a 63809, it'll work.
Yeah, and if they don't, it just leaves everything alone and just runs at normal speed. So
yeah, and then what my later blog post, I also did a version of the color render. Yeah,
this one, is this
that one. It has there's a updated post to that.
Oh, okay. I probably didn't grab that before the show. So
did you click on a Bitbanger's blog, the title at the top? I think that'll take you. Yep.
Oh, so you got CoCo 1 2 with artifacting now to get some of the color.
Yep, and it has the code changes necessary to switch that ray tracing program to work on the CoCo 1 and 2.
Cool. So even for people that are not into ray tracing, and not everybody is, I think just downloading James's routine to do the native mode check, or the 609 check, and then turning native mode on. I would like to see some of the basic programmers in the audience, either on the panel or in the chat, or anybody who watches, listens to the show later, download a James routines because they actually will work in a CoCo 1, 2, or 3, and try them with your basic programs. And I'd be interested to see if certain types of programs get a bigger speed boost than certain others, if they use certain functions like certain drawing commands or something like that, depending on how the basic is code itself, like in basic ROMs, or as actually written and with the addressing modes and stuff they use. I'd like to see what kind of speed increases people would see. And would it make it possible, like if it's big enough in certain cases, for some people to write a game in BASIC that, just ran a little bit too slow before and might actually make up for it? And you don't have to learn any new coding at all to do it. You just run this little bit that James has added. And
Yeah,
then just
you
try it
you
out.
have to do the clear, and you can't declare any variables, any new variables before that, because that clears all your variables and it changes removes all your JSR calls and stuff. But after that, once it's installed, you can turn it on and off or whatever in your code, and it'll work fine. You just got to make sure that its data comes before any data statements you do too.
Yeah. So I'd like to see if we can get some feedback from people who have tried this on some of their own BASIC programs and see, who have 609s installed in their Cocoa 1s and 2s, and just see how much of a difference did you see in your program? Like, is it 3%? Is it 5? Is it 10? Depending on the instruction mix of what BASIC commands you're using could be higher. I've seen some stuff that's gone up like 20, 25, 30%, depending on the instruction mix.
Yeah, I can't remember who ran it. I think it was Bill Astle ran it for me, but there was a benchmark we were running. Everybody was running on Atari age. They were running it on every machine. I think it was all benchmark, and it sped up by like 20%.
Yeah. So, I mean, depending on what you're doing in a game or, even a utility or whatever else, I mean, I'd like to see what people would find out from this. Because that's something we haven't really had. Like, I know Sockmaster did a 609 native mode patch that actually fixes the disk routines and stuff too for the Cocoa 3 that we released a long time ago, even sped up screen scrolling with TFMs and things. But it's not that commonly known. It's Cocoa 3 only. This is the first general patch that people can just download and use for the Cocoa 1 and 2 to take advantage of the 609. So I'd love to see what people can do with it.
Yeah, and since you can't patch the ROM without copying it to RAM, and then if you copy the ROM to RAM, the high speed poke doesn't work. So this kind of gives you the best option.
Yeah. And also your solution should work on a Dragon 3264 as well.
Yes.
With a 639 installed.
Yes, it should.
So definitely would like to hear back from some of the Dragon people. Maybe they can demo this at the show.
As long as the address of that top of RAM pointer is the same, then it will work on the Dragon. If that moved to a different address, then I would have
Then you might
to
have
change.
patched the program a little bit to
Well, it would just change the address. It peaks at the start of the program, I think.
Yeah. And if there's anything like that, I'm sure Kieran or somebody could figure it out in like 10 seconds flat and patch it if needed.
Oh yeah, if they have a ROM disassembly, they can find it in no time.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely do. Anyway, thanks for doing that, and I really look forward to seeing some people actually give this a shot, and see what kind of differences. Like I know Ken, actually both Ken Reichert and Ken Waters have both done some basic programming in the past, and that'd be interesting to see. Since I know Ken Waters has a 639 in his Cocoa 1. I'm not sure if Ken Reichert does, but I'd like to see like some of your old basic games and stuff. Like, what would they do with this?
And one of the things is if you don't want to turn it on and off for like play command or something like that, you could just lower the octave or something, and it should still sound the same. I think.
Yeah, because right now it just speeds up the loop. Now disk IO will crash because it screws up the stack.
That's the interrupt, the regular interrupt or whatever.
Yeah, because there's an extra register native mode. The W is pushed on the stack, and BASIC has no idea that's there, so the stack ends up pointing in the wrong spot, and you'll just crash. So disk IO, you definitely want to switch it back to regular mode first.
Yeah, so saving your high scores or whatever, loading high scores, you want it off.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's your homework for the two cans on the call here. You guys can give some tests and let us know what it runs like for you. Okay, next up, color computer programming, kind of a video blog we've been covering for a while. Did a couple of videos this past week. So the first one here is he's fiddling with sine and cosine and kind of remembering how that works. I was just doing it in text mode here just to kind of see like what it does.
Hey guys,
I'll just fast forward a little bit to kind of see the drawing part.
And as you can see,
and
looks like a biorhythm.
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
That's what I was thinking.
But I mean, this is where he's kind of rediscovering. He said, I kind of remember these things from, Traeger, whatever, back in the day in school. But not like me personally, I barely remember any of that stuff. I kind of blotted most of that from my mind after high school was done. I know a lot of people actually are, know this stuff really well, especially if they're doing 3D graphics and that kind of thing these days. So kind of interesting him going through and kind of relearning how these work, etc. And then his second one is his little piano program here. He's expanded so that he's got all the white notes on the keyboard working now. And then he tries to do a bit of a play of a song live. I think he still has it where you have to like move the joystick over or something like that to move the notes, where you have these long pauses instead of having a hotkey to just jump instantly, which I think would make it a bit more functional for actually trying to play something. But this was, his first foray in actually using P Mode 4. He'd always use P Mode 3 because like Nick, he likes color. And he didn't really know about how to do artifacts in BASIC under full control, even though it's fairly simple. So you can go check that one out too. Next up, we have, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Jamie Idlepix. I'm assuming that's either a foreign name or a pseudonym or something. But for those of you on Facebook, he actually managed to buy one of the blue AgVision terminals, which is a video text terminal for the farming segment, originally from the University of Kentucky, if I remember correctly, and kind of predated Videotex itself. Now, the Videotex, for those of you who've seen it, the original Videotex hardware was basically a CoCo 1 silver case, and it came out before the CoCo 1 did by a few months. It's got a 609, but it's got a built-in modem, 300 baud modem, and it's got a built-in terminal program in the ROM instead of ROM basic. And this is the AgVision version, which from his dump of it seems to be pretty well identical, except there's a serial number change in the ROM. But he actually uploaded the entire ROM so that if anybody wants to look through the code itself here, would be able to go through it and figure it out. And this is a very rare thing. The Videotex terminals are fairly rare at this point, but the blue AgVision ones are incredibly rare. And I don't think we'd ever seen a ROM dump of them before because they're rare enough that you just don't get people that know how to do a ROM dump owning them. So it's pretty cool. It's up there. So for some of those of you that want to get into the really prehistory of the CoCo, when Tandy first started experimenting with the 6809 and the VDG and the SAM and all that kind of stuff, this is the stuff that came out months before the CoCo itself, the CoCo 1 did. So that's a pretty interesting bit of history you found there. And here's some pictures. Since we don't normally get to see these things too close, I thought I'd show these off here. So this is the AgVision with this special AgVision Tandy logo. You can still see the 3 color bars there. Where the RAM badge went is now an LED, which I believe is the data. For those of you who probably know the AgVision.
Yeah, that's for the modem.
Okay, yeah, so it's basically transmit or receive. It would light up, I'm guessing. Same keyboard as a CoCo, same black background, everything else, but a blue case.
And dollars to donuts, when you called in, the answer back would be that different ROM serial number, so they would know you were a genuine AgVision and they could do stuff with you.
Yeah, that was a speculation, I think, even in the comments, is that would have been used to identify this as an AgVision versus a generic video text terminal and maybe direct you to like different pages specifically for the agriculture industry.
Probably for graphics. Kind of like what's that, Minitel or whatever?
Well, yeah, you always had to provide your answer back so they knew what to do with you.
Yeah.
So some of them was Dow Jones, and I'm sure this meant something to,
Yeah. No, on the bottom, it's just labeled as a regular tier city video text terminal. It doesn't mention the AgVision. I don't know if they started serial numbers over between the 2 different versions, the blue AgVision specific.
They couldn't have made a lot of those.
Right.
Well, at least 386, according to this.
Yeah.
Though, as Mark's mentioned, he said actually some of those serial numbers were just filler and didn't really mean anything at all. So. And here you can see the back, like the joystick ports, they've got the groove for it, but they weren't punched out because you didn't have joysticks, but you had the separate telephone connection here.
No, is that like a serial, or is that an actual?
I can't really tell. Unfortunately, the shadowing on this is pretty bad.
It
No, it
looks
had
like
a built-in
round
modem.
DIN.
So
right. It looks like it plugged into modem 1 or something, but it could be a phone line hookup, right?
yeah, because didn't these had built-in modems? They didn't need it.
Yeah, if you look at the board, it looks like it's got a built-in modem.
So that's probably just, these are the connectors we use on this board. So that's what your phone connector.
See, that's why it's got that.
Yeah.
If you zoom in a little bit, it's got
Transformer.
a transformer, and then it's got a clock there to the left, well, just to the right of the big, huge capacitor.
Crystal.
Just here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the DIN fit the mold they had for the CoCo video text, whatever. So yeah, that's what we get, right?
Yeah.
Just use a DIN because we use a DIN 5 for everything.
Yeah, it might be a DIN to The phone type of jack connector.
Right.
It might have been a little
RJ.
cable.
RJ
Right,
12,
'cause
11.
Yeah.
What they had tooled was a DIN 5.
It's even got the Tandy Corp copyright 1980 over here, which is.
But they don't have the connections for the card.
I know that helps you.
Yeah, that's the clock. Crystal. Whatever.
RF shielding, of course. And there's the RF shield off. So you can see the SAM still here.
That's a lot of
65.
chips just for a terminal.
And the ROM got a little bit sadder because of this flash shot. Because it's not covered.
Yeah, I think I would want to put a piece of tape over that so it doesn't get erased.
Yeah. I can't tell
That's
here.
good.
Are these RAMs? Like this is the RAM here.
Yeah.
Is that
Yes, that's
socket
the
or
RAM
that's
along the
soldered
front.
right on?
Looks socketed.
I think that's, oh God, I can't tell.
I can't really tell from this
That
one.
looks
but-
socketed.
Yeah, it's just
It's socketed.
No, it can't be. There's no need to have expandable RAM. It's a Videotex terminal. It runs with
Yeah,
ROM's code
it's
and
hard
that's what
to-
you got.
I think that's just blank motherboard below, not an actual socket.
Right.
Yeah, because it doesn't stick out beyond the pins. You look on the bottom side of the chips.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So they're
Which makes
soldered
sense
on.
because this would have been a fixed RAM for this product, but not.
Well, it only
expandable.
needs like 4K.
Yeah, enough for a screen, which is
For a
512 bytes,
screen,
and then some
yeah.
buffering.
Screen, run a printer, whatever.
No, just a fascinating bit of history that's quite rare. There's a zoom up of the actual ROM. Now, this is copyright 1981, so apparently they didn't update it some sort.
Interesting. They actually put video text on the so
Yeah, and you can see the sticker. It's from the FDLRS PAEC library in Florida.
So they actually had it so you could come in and use it in a library or something, I guess.
Farmer going in and check out his stuff and maybe print it out on his line printer for at the library and off he goes.
That makes sense at that time.
Yeah. I mean, this is very early days here, so. And I think we're back.
Did that come out in 1980 or 1979?
The project was definitely started in 78, 79. I think. Now, I'm not sure if the AgVision version came out before Videotex, but Videotex itself, I think, started getting sold around February, March of 1980, which is months before the Coco One came out for sale, or even was announced, because it was announced in July, I think, of 1980. So, and then on sale around September-ish.
So sold through at least 81 because of the ROM on this one.
Yeah, but it would have came out in early 1980 for sure, possibly late 79 on maybe some of the very earliest versions. This is obviously the later one because it's a 1981 ROM, but it's an interesting bit of Coco history because these are rare. The blue ones are quite rare. I've only seen pictures from I think 2 or 3 people that actually own these.
Yeah.
The
Well,
entire time I've
when
been
their
online.
serial number is like 3,000, it's like, okay, did they start counting at 1,000?
Right. It's 386. And
You never know. I
Now,
mean,
the gray
I've-
Videotex terminals, I have seen those in person numerous times over the years. I remember seeing them in the store. So, I mean, those are a bit more common, but I've never seen one of these in real life.
Yeah, I've got an MC10 that's got a 200,082 or something like that serial number, and it's like, did they really make that many of them?
Well, they did sell them in Europe and stuff too. So, I mean, they might have.
Yeah.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Did you actually, for like the AgVision and for the Videotex, did you actually go to the store and buy the unit, or did you like rent it or something?
The gray Videotex terminal you bought in the store. The blue one, I'm not sure. I never saw a blue one.
Yeah, because
in
I've always
person.
wondered about that. If you purchase the service month to month, and part of that purchase, month to month purchase was
rental.
was
They give you
rental
this
of
thing,
the
yeah.
unit, because there's so few seen that you would think that they had to be returned if they closed their account or something.
Right. Everyone had to give them back, so there are none in the wild.
Yeah.
That's possible. I honestly don't know.
Yeah,
I know from
Jamie-
the history book that Boise and Bill wrote that the project was started in 78, I think, internally. And then I think they had, limited in the University of Kentucky in 79, I think. And then
The thing about it that confuses me is they used a chipset that they had to have a lot of chips, and they could have done something like the MC10 because it's a microcontroller, the 6803, and they could have done the same thing.
Was the 6803 out in 79, 80 though?
Right.
It was out in 77, but it was reserved for automobile like GM. They used it for I don't know, it was a $900 add-on, and hardly anybody bought it for the Caddy.
But this is
and
the
then
straight up-
78, it was in their catalog.
But this is the straight up Motorola design that they used for
Everything.
Drag in the Coco to
but you wouldn't have needed a SAM or a PIA or whatever. You'd have just
right. But you already had it, just like you already had the 5-pin DIN plug. So that's what you used for the phone jack.
Yeah, and to cut costs, since they were designing the Coco One at this point too, and maybe they decided, this is we'll just do it in common. So we write the ROM code once, we can sell it as a Videotex cartridge on a Coco. We can sell the separate terminals if that's all you want to do. It probably was a cost cutting to share the hardware design between them all rather than have two separate product lines with completely different chips. That'd be my guess.
They definitely could build these on the same assembly line, the same cases. They just get painted differently.
Yeah, like the molds, exactly the same keyboard. Yeah.
Well, right. In engineering, once you get a solid 6809 design that works, why mess with it?
Yep.
Sell it 12 different ways.
Reuse that IP.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was chatting with Jamie about this, he had no idea what he had. He thought this was like a prototype or just something odd. He had no idea when he posted on our website. He had no idea he was going to get the attention that he did with it.
Yeah, he got quite a bit there. He got several private offers for it, I think, too.
I'm sure they were pretty decent.
But he was kind enough to actually, like dump the ROM and put it up too, which is kind of nice because I don't think anybody had ever seen that since when these were out. And then they discovered it's pretty well the same.
I've never seen a dump of the ROM before, so
yeah.
Where did
Well,
he
from what
dump
he said,
it
it's the same
to?
as the standard Videotex gray terminal with that serial number changed to identify it as an Ag Vision terminal. Hey, bit of interesting Coco history there. So congratulations to Jamie on finding one, first of all, and then also for being kind enough to release the ROM dump so we can kind of learn about the history of it itself. Next up, Jim Brain did a long post here explaining what him and Randy Weaver, and I think Brendan Donahue got involved at some point too. This is from Tandy Assembly. So Randy has these Radio Shack letters, which I think are a metal thing, and then they wanted to get them lit up without destroying the letters, without drilling holes in it, etc. So he actually ended up adding some LED lights, etc. to it. And then he goes an explanation of hardware, which is way beyond my pay grade. And then he does a Coco basic program that controlled the lights. And then he did some screenshots here, and he's got a little bit of a video. So I'm going to zoom this up.
I contributed to that project.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. You see all the wires that go from the one point to another to each individual light?
I'm not seeing anything but a white screen right now because Facebook's being a pain in the ass.
Yeah, basically it was a wire with 3 wires inside.
Facebook. Let me force reload and see if it works then. Could be because I had to restore my tabs after I rebooted from the previous problems I was having.
Yeah, it was a cable with 3 wires inside, and one to each letter. I'm the one who stripped all those wires.
So I mean, you can see
So
by
you
the
stripped for us, huh?
Fun.
Yeah.
So you're a stripper.
Exactly.
He is a stripper.
You can see the lights going across here. They programmed a couple different patterns in it here to kind of show the individual control of it. So how long did this take, Sleepy? Was this like a nighttime project during the show, or what was it since you were involved?
You want the truth of it all? While that was happening, I was broke down on the side of the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Literally the hardware assembly happened before I left. I stripped the wires like Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. I left around 7 p.m. as Jim was putting the wire while the auction was going on. Jim was starting to wire it up, and then he was putting the wiring in right before I left, and then finished up the wiring and the power and all after I'd left Tandy Assembly. So
yeah, because I do like some of the effects there. Like they have the rapid, turn each one on and off full, but they also have the fade in and fade outs going between letters. And
yeah, because the LEDs are actually RGBWs, but only the white or red would actually work because the fronts are translucent red, so no other color would come through really. But
and there at the top, you can see the Coco controlling it all.
Right, and they are individually addressable, so you'd be able to do all kinds of effects.
This would have been a nice A-bus project for Brian's board set there.
Yeah, I said that the iOS shouldn't be lit up, but the rest of it should.
Actually, what Brian's going to have to do now is attach some stepper motors to it and get this thing to fly while it's flying around, living up and stuff here, and turn it into a drone.
Yeah, they're not exactly light because I mean they are made out of metal.
We'll put it on cables like the Skycam and fly it around over the.
No, it's a pretty cool project because I mean you're at Tandy Assembly. You have an actual Radio Shack sign from back in the day, and you have a Coco. This is a Coco 2 or is it a Coco 3? I can't really tell by the screenshot here, but controlling the whole thing with a Coco, so it's like all in theme.
When Sloopy was showing us the show, he was on the floor putting those together, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see some of the wiring, to put all the lights in. Coco 2, there we go. With a raw Coco SDC, it looks like plugged in.
Why is the background of the keyboard gray?
That might just be the lighting from the flash, I'm guessing.
Yeah, look on the sides, it's regular. On the flat parts.
There's one of the interiors, you can kind of see the LED light set up there.
Looks a lot different than the neon.
Right.
I used to work on letters like that when I was young.
Yeah, these won't let you up so much.
Yeah. It is a cool effect though, and it was cool the fact that you guys designed and started this project at the show, basically live. Like it wasn't pre-planned, pre-done, and hauled into the show ready to go. From my understanding, from reading the blog that Jim did,
it was actually designed at home. The assembly, the individual control boards were pre-assembled, but wiring putting those boards in the letters and wiring those boards to the controller was done at the show.
Now, was the programming done live at the show, or was that already pre-planned somewhat?
No, that was done at the show. Brendan Donahue did that.
So most of this is like live. This is cool. Live hardware and software design at the show. That is
great news, guys. I've got all the parts.
Yeah. I actually had to fix one of the control boards too. So I did some soldering work on the boards.
That's a true open source public project because you're doing it live right on the show floor type thing. That's awesome.
Live, baby, live.
Yeah, Jim got out of being in the auction by doing that. That was my mistake.
Man.
I should have
Good
helped
for
him.
him.
More. Yeah, I should have helped him more with that. Then maybe I wouldn't have spent so much in the auction.
Anyway, that's really cool. Now, one other thing I do want to mention briefly here. There's no story or anything to show you visually on it, but Dennis Bathory Kits, the guy who Brian showed one of his products earlier, also did the color kit, which is the lowercase kit for the Coco 1 and 2 back in the day. He did all the stuff with Tier City Model 1 and 3 as well. And he's been a guest speaker at Coco Fest in the past. He's been a guest on our show, actually, for an interview a couple of years back. He's the one who actually maintains the Coco list, the email group listserv type thing, to replace the original listserv because it was getting spammed to death. And he started 19 years ago. I didn't realize it was that long already. But he'd noticed that there hadn't been too many messages to it the last couple of weeks. So he actually posted a thing saying, are people still using this? Should I shut it down? Should I keep it going? He's okay with doing either way. And the list all of a sudden got the most traffic it's had probably in 5 to 10 years in the past week from everybody responding, yeah, keep it. And that's where I discovered that there's a lot of people that refuse to use Facebook, first of all. A lot of people that don't like the way Discord organizes messages because it's impossible to find anything. And they much prefer the list and some of the utilities that you can use to go through an email list type thing. So overwhelmingly, he's agreed to keep it going. But it was quite fun. It reminded me how many people are not on any other social media to get Coco News except the list. And we've been talking, and Alan, I think you were kind of one of the people that mentioned this, Alan Murphy, about that maybe we should be posting the news summaries and links and stuff from what I do here on the show, and then post them on the actual Coco list every week so that people who aren't on Facebook, aren't on Discord, can
and who hate change.
What's that?
It's a good
Was that,
idea.
James?
Those who hate change.
Well, no, some of them are just, paranoid about Facebook sucking all your data too. I mean, I can sympathize with that. But yeah, I think that's a good idea. So hopefully we'll start doing that fairly soon there, so that people that don't, get to watch the show or people in rural areas. I mean, there's some people in rural areas that have like really crappy cell phone. They're running on like 2G or whatever the heck the predecessor to 5G was called, Edge. They can't stream video. They just can't. They don't have the bandwidth. Because I know there's a few Coco and some big name Coco people that are out on farms and stuff that just can't do it. So, doing all this video audio stuff is great for people that live in the cities and have bandwidth. For some of the people out in the rural areas, it's just not feasible. So this would be one way for them to keep up to date and with what's happening. Back to the regular stuff. Okay, so Keith March, we mentioned him last week, has been trying to get as much technical documentation, the MM1, that he can, and he's actually posted a whole bunch of more PDFs here the last week, so he's been keeping it going. David Ladd, you actually own an MM1. Did it come with any of these schematics, or is it something he's been kind of creating on his own, do you know?
Unfortunately, I got it as from a person that ordered 2, and I had gotten mine as a add-on because I wanted one, but I couldn't afford it, so I had to pay the person off. So I got the MM1, and that was, I think, it. I might have had the OS9 book, but I don't think I had anything else with it. Now I did get the 8 meg backplane, which of course came with new boot ROMs, which of course included support for booting off the hard disk, but that's pretty much the only real major changes I did, other than putting a Cyclist 44 and 88 in it.
Yeah, so this is one thing. I mean, the MM1's a fairly rare machine itself. I don't know how many were sold ultimately, and there was the MM1B, which is a 68340, much faster version as well. But the fact that Keith's been actually uploading all of the different scans of the different boards and satellite boards and technical documentation, etc., I think is really good. There's even been some rough talk about maybe trying to duplicate the machine, because actually when you got it up to its max, it was a pretty decent machine. It ran OSK. It had a full windowing system called K Windows that Kevin Darling created that was based on the one that Nitrous 9 and OS9 Level 2 used, but expanded. It had graphics, like if you had the palette controller, you had 16 million colors, which back in like the early 90s when this came out was pretty high end. DMA, it had support for Amiga sound and video files and stuff. Like, it had a lot of really good things on it. Pretty decent resolution too. With the interlace, you can get like what's the resolutions, Dave? Is like 640 by 400 by 256 color or something at 30 hertz.
There was both standard progressive and interlaced on the machine, which for some of the resolutions I like to use for more text space, I usually had to run the interlace to get the extra resolution.
Yeah. It did flicker a bit. I remember seeing these at the show there. But the speed difference jumping from the original MM1, which is a 68070, a Signetics chip, which ran at 15 megahertz, but it was actually slower than the equivalent Motorola part. So it ran the equivalent of about a 12.5 megahertz 68000. But the 68340 ran, I can't remember the chip speed, but it was a much more advanced chip, and it ran literally like twice as fast, or if not faster. So it was a big speed boost too for doing all the graphics and stuff. It was a nice machine. It just, I think by the time the early 90s hit, when the TC9, TC70, System 4, System 5, MM1, MM1B came out, the market had been too saturated already by all the PC clones and the Mac, and pretty well wiped out everything else, including the Amiga and the ST, and a bunch of others were starting already going on the wayside at that point. I think it was just too little too late, even though it had a really great operating system.
Yeah, the MM1 from my use, I did a lot of bad things. I did. All the fonts. I couldn't help myself. I had to load all the fonts once I got the 8 meg board upgrade.
That's what I do in EOU. It makes software compatibility a lot easier.
Yeah.
As Rick discovered, because he disabled that because he didn't like the load times, and he went to run a bunch of things and they all come out with dots and stuff there because none of the fonts that it needed were loaded. And that's a problem I hit. That's when I decided just to preload them, because they don't take a ton of RAM on a 5. And EOE requires 512K anyway, so you're not even blowing that much. But it does take some time to boot.
And EOU 6.1 boots a whole lot faster than 5. The beta.
Well, remember,
Yeah.
my defense, I'm testing hardware, so I'm rebooting a lot.
Yeah, I'm not blaming you. I actually have it, killed down for me for doing certain things too. So just gotta remember to turn it back on if you're just trying to play the user.
David, is your MM1 still operational?
The original hard drive isn't, but I kind of cheated. I used my Zip 250 when the drive was, because it was having a stiction issue. So I twist the drive to get it to start up, and I formatted a Zip 250 disk. Then I did the cobbler to it, and then transferred the entire drive over to the Zip 250. And now I'm waiting to get off my rear to use one of those SCSI to SD adapters, so I can put a micro SD card into it and restore that image on it and just boot off of that. But, me being lazy like normal.
Yeah. No, it's a new machine. I mean, with not modern day, reprogrammable chips and stuff here, I think you could make a clone that ran at the same speed and actually experience, I think, probably what became the most advanced actual hardware released as far as a quote unquote Coco 4 goes. And the one that had the most software advances, the TC70 wasn't quite as robust on its software support. The TC9 we did pretty well, but that's basically just a Coco 3 with 1 mega RAM built in, some 8-bit ports instead of 6-bit for sound and joysticks, etc. But yeah, it's an interesting bit of history. I mean, it was pretty fascinating watching that, because it was at the time it was probably one of the more advanced machines in the market. But it's a ma and pa style operation. You just couldn't compete with the big boys, and I don't think anybody could have at that point. It's one of the reasons I think Radio Shack kind of pulled out of doing anything besides Tandy 1000 style level machines. Next up, this was kind of an unexpected little weird video. And this is a YouTuber, Video Game Central, 1 subscriber. And I just happened to find it because I did a search. But he's working on, as he puts it, porting 3D Sages, which is another YouTube channel, Doom Engine to the Tandy Color Computer 3, day 1. And so a little basic program, and basically he hits some keys and it basically moves some dots around in SemiGraphics 4. And I'm assuming he's just kind of testing, the calculations are going correct. He said he has some bugs he's still got to fix. It's a lot of math. It's basically doing ray casting, I would guess, just from a quick glance at it. But it's not really showing that much at this point. But I'm going to be interested to see what he can do trying to port a Doom Engine to BASIC Coco 3 and how well that's going to work. But I think it's kind of like calculating distance between points and how they expand if you get closer, that type of thing. So I'll follow his and see where he goes with this. I'm kind of curious myself. No commentary except for the description of the video itself. Next up, for the MC10 people in the house here, Dylan Teagan has posted a screenshot of the great pumpkin animated graphics that Paul Shoemaker did, with the little leaves wandering and fall into the pumpkin patch. But he's actually converted it and got it running too. You can actually download it off the MC10 group on Facebook if you have an MC10 you want to check it out, kind of into the Halloween theme. So if Ghost Rush Halloween Edition gets ported to MC10, that'll be 2 new MC10 Halloween related graphics programs to be released. So That'd be kind of cool. MC10's been getting a lot of love lately, like from some of the games from Inafudo, et cetera, too. So good to see the MC10 getting some love after the years of hate we spawned on it for being a doorstop. And that's where you go download it. Of course, because of Facebook, you have to rename the file to extract it. So he's giving you some directions there. I don't know, like we don't really have a repository for MC10 stuff, unless people are uploading their MC10 stuff to the Color Computer Archive. And Jim Gary has a lot of his own stuff on his own page, but I don't know if we need a separate section or somebody wants to make a separate place so people can do, looking for just for MC10 can find it that much easier instead of sifting through all the Coco stuff at the same time. This is a rather interesting one here. This is taking two bits of retro hardware and putting them together to make some noise, or well, and useful things like printing. So this is an MC10 that he's printing onto an Apple Image Writer 1 through a little basic program. And he does a little bit of a description here. You just flip the baud rates around and stuff here to get it to work. But I thought it was just kind of cool getting one retro computer talking to another piece of retro hardware from a similar era. And from two different companies yet, going from a TRS-80 MC10 to an Apple Image Writer 1. Gotta love that keyboard.
As I recall, CITO, I made the image writers 1 and 2.
Next, we're gonna have dogs and cats living together in harmony.
Exactly what I thought when I saw it. Plus, there's
Apples
that
and
nostalgia of
jam.
hearing a line
Living
printer
together.
Yeah, because nobody really buys line printers anymore unless you're still dealing with that carbon stuff for work or something like that. So it was a bit nostalgic just to hear the.
Even O'Reilly's is starting to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I lived with that for years at work because we had the huge, like, true line printers. I printed a whole line in one shot with this big hammer band. Yeah, 300. I think our fastest one at work ran at 900 lines per minute.
Right.
Entire full width lines, like it just cranked.
The old Burroughs chain printer. So yeah, 132 columns with every letter on a chain for each column. Boom.
Yeah. The ones we had were like little like dot matrix, but it had a hammer bank that shifted back and forth 2 characters width, and then we actually had 44 hammers for 132 column. No, 66 hammers, sorry, for 132 column, and it would just shake back and forth and just.
The one I remember from college was a rotating drum of the characters, and it spun at high speed. And I mean, it was like line at a time, and it was just.
Yeah, we had special quieted cases with styrofoam and all kinds of stuff to try to quiet down. Didn't really help that much.
It was still loud.
Yeah, you had to shout over it. Yeah,
Tandy sold a line printer.
Like a true line printer, like
Yeah,
this.
It was the one you described where it shifted about 2 characters.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
one row
it
of pins.
accepted a line at a time, but it didn't actually print a line at a time. So it wasn't really the same thing. But yeah.
Some companies had computer rooms, didn't they? Or printer rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
we
good
did.
reason.
Yeah,
no,
we had
Unisys-
Printronix printers, and we had Mannesmann tallies. Mannesmann tallies were the faster ones. It was produced by a company on the West Coast somewhere. I don't remember where they were located, but I mean, if you're printing like line printer, standard, 8.5 by 11-inch line printer feed, it would print an entire page of full text in literally less than a second on a line printer.
Exactly.
Yeah, they were just insane. Actually, we had the Coco controlling that artwork too, so even brings it back into Coco stuff. Then we got a couple of things on the Dragon here. The first one here, this is kind of an interesting one. Another luminary has joined the Dragon group, Ian Thompson Bell, and this is his actual original post. Introduced himself, and you can see on the screen, but just for the audio listeners, as the project leader for the original Dragon 32 at Pat Center until the initial product launch, and for some time beyond until development was taken over by Dragon Data's own R&D team. So this is like before Dragon Data really fully got going. He was part of the original team that actually helped design the Dragon 32. So that's an interesting bit of history. And then Duncan Smead, of course, who was with Dragon itself here, said, good to have you here, Ian, and kind of welcome him in, because obviously they would have worked together in the transition between the two. So that, if you guys have some, ancient Dragon knowledge you want to learn, that's the guy to ask. So if you're not a member already, join the Dragon 3264 owner user group on Facebook. and you can actually ask them some questions that are pre-Dragon data type thing when they were just getting started. I'm hoping that, I don't know if he's planning on being at the Dragon show in a couple of weeks here in Wales, but it'd be awesome if they could get him down there to kind of give some early history, even beyond what we've already heard on the Dragon special, etc. So that was kind of cool. And then my last story this week, and I'll just play a little clip of it. I won't play the whole thing. That's only 52 seconds. Maybe I'll be brave and play the whole thing. But basically, a person on YouTube with a channel called The Only Way is 32K, which I thought is awesome for 8-bit machines. So he did a quick video here comparing similar game artwork between the Dragon 32 and BBC Micro. Now, these are not the exact same games, but they're games that are kind of similar genres, like you see two Donkey Kong clones or something like that. And it was just kind of comparing like what the artwork was like between like the Micro Deal, stuff for the Dragon, and then also what they had on the BBC Micro, which was the main one used in the schools there, from what I understand. So I'll just play the 50-second check. I'll just mute it because there's no text and there's some song in the background. Make sure we don't get a copyright strike. I don't know if it's free or not, but you can kind of compare and decide which is Dragon, which is BBC switches. There's not inconsistency, but you'll be able to tell from the logos. But once again, the artwork designs in the UK, except for a few like Brian had brought out earlier from Midgetron and Spectral Associates, are definitely were more advanced than most stuff we saw here.
Here was definitely low budget.
Yep. Yet our games cost more. That's one thing I hear from Dragon.
Yeah,
people,
they all were talking about being able to buy a cassette
for like
for a few pounds.
2 pounds. Yeah. Which even back then, the pound would have been like $2.20 American, maybe. So like $5.
Yeah, but it's still under $10, even
Yeah.
the more expensive ones.
Killed Your Gorilla versus Donkey King. Shenanigans, rather famous Smart Data Products one. Ironically enough, Shenanigans on the Coco used artifact colors like crazy. They even used the subtler ones like the cyans and the yellows and the purples and stuff like that. I hate to imagine what that would look like on a Dragon. It would just be a colored mess, I would figure. But it's a really good game, so still highly recommend it. And that is it for the news this week. So wake up, everybody.
Oh, we are.
What did I miss?
Is it what inning stretch now? I don't know. Do we have like 20?
So I don't know if we have any more segments planned here. We did product acquisitions, we did Game On Challenge, we did the news. Is there anything else to discuss, or should we actually have a shorter show this week after all the Septandy long ones?
I just want to add one comment about the stuff I put on my blog. I intend for you to cut it and paste it into like VCC, the emulator, do any editing, there, and then you can save make a disk image and you can put it on a real Coco, because it takes so much less effort than trying to type it on the Coco or whatever. So
yeah, we should probably make a disk image that people can just download that little routine and just load it and merge it with their own programs at some point too.
Well, I think I'll probably put together all the stuff I've done in BASIC, and it'll probably fit on one disk because most of it's not very big.
Yeah, plus but people can actually run the demos themselves and see the speed differences.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
So unless anybody else has anything else they want to add on, I think we're done the show for today.
Time to run that beautiful outro footage.
Unless Ron can start a discussion for us.
There was somebody saying they did have something. There was a couple of voices going.
Hi, here in the back. I just
can't find him.
Could you stand up there?
There we are.
No, I just want to remind everyone next week, the CoCoTALK Game On Challenge live will be Thursday instead of Friday at 8 p.m. Please
Eastern.
be there. Get ready to play our game of the week, which I've already forgotten.
Fangman.
Fangman. Yeah, Fangman.
Written by David Crandall, sold by Tom Mix Software.
And
Na,
chosen
na, 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 na.
and chosen by the Game On High Council. Thank you, and I will see everyone Thursday, correct?
If you're lucky.
Well, I am. I am, so I will see you.
This concludes
I
another
got you
episode
there,
of
Dave.
CoCoTALK, the world's
Sorry,
leading
what was that,
live
Nick?
talk show featuring the Tandy
I should
Calora
get Ron
computer,
to ask us a
MC10,
question and
and
start
Grinding
a
systems.
discussion.
For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web.
Too
at
late, we're done.
I think that ship has sailed.
CoCoTalk.live.
We're
We'd love to
done.
hear from you.
We're bye.
Send
Nope,
feedback,
not
Well, we
listening.
still-
Uh-uh.
segments via
We still have the
email
we still have final thoughts and
No, 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 no.
Consider supporting the show with a purchase.
By the way,
of
all of our
merchandise
stuff's
from our
going out
retro
through the
swag
stream,
shop
so
at
just, you know.
8bit256.com.
That's okay.
If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon link on our website, CoCoTalk.live.
I'm still dressed, so it's all good.
CoCoTalk would not exist without the
really?
community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Alan Murphy, Amigos Retro Gaming, Bill Noble, Brian Joyce, Brian Weaver, Curtis Boyle, D. Bruce Moore, Danny O'Connor, David Ladd, Eric Canales, George Jansen, Grant Leedy, James Diffendapper, Jason Reichert, Jim Brain, Ken Reichert, Ken Waters, Mark Bosley, Mark Overholzer, Mikey Furman, Mr. Dave 6309, Nick Marentes, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Paul Fiscarelli, Richard Lorbieski, Rick Adams, Rick Hewlin, Rob Inman, Ron Delvaux, Samuel Gimes, Sloopy Malibu, Steve Bjork, Terry Steggy, Tom C., and many, many more. Please help support the CoCo community. A list of various contributors and resources are available at imacoconut.com. That's IMACOCONUT.com. The original CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. The new CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2020 by D. Bruce Moore. Both are mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCo forever.
Okay. Any last thoughts?
Push the button, Frank.
My last
Okay.
thought is be kind to each other and love the cocoa.
Ooh.
There you go.
It's
Thank you,
okay to
Mr. Ladd.
love
No,
your
it's-
cocoa, but just don't love your cocoa.
It's be kind and rewind.
Really?
Yep.
See y'all next week.
Later.
Later, everyone.